Open session meeting of the Ayer Planning Board, September 10th, 2019.
No, before we go get that out.
John,
Sorry.
Ken Diskey presiding as vice chair in the absence of Jeff Tillison tonight. So we have the first item of general business is to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda for the September 10th meeting of the Ayer Planning Board.
Seconded.
Any discussion?
Yeah. Chair?
Yeah.
We gonna get to all this?
Uh-huh.
We're gonna try.
Okay, fair enough.
Just depends on how long the room stays, so we're gonna give it a go. Anything?
No.
I second that comment.
All in favor of approving the agenda as written?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. The second item is to approve the minutes of 8/13/2019. And I have a comment on this. I'm recommending that we postpone this because we don't have our chairman and rather have him in here before we approve it. So let those minutes continue to go to the next session of the planning board.
Good.
Okay, so the first thing on the agenda after our general business is the continued review of the stormwater drainage analysis for Shaker Road Home Scout LLC.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
Neil, you want to introduce yourself again for the record?
Neil Gorman from David E. Ross Associates, representing the Home Scout LLC.
Thank you.
I know the last time the smaller prints were hard to see, so I made a couple of the big ones if you guys want to
Okay.
double up and share them, that's fine.
Well,
Just so you get easy to see.
Keep it right there, please.
yes, sir.
Okay.
That's okay.
I got one. I got an extra one.
Wow.
All right.
What service?
One for the audience and the camera.
Yeah, two of us.
Here.
Oh, that's still all right, too.
Yeah, but, I mean, is there a date change on it?
We'll hold this one.
I have my paper next to it.
That's fine. Let them see it. We took the time to make it.
The engineers, just joking.
Mr. Chair, before Neil begins, I just wanted to bring to the board's attention that DPW Superintendent Mark Wetzel issued a memo today, a one-page memo to the planning board stating that he has met with Neil. And I'll just read this into the record. The DPW office has received revised submittals for the above referenced project dated September 9th, 2019. Documents that were received include the drainage analysis prepared by David Ross dated July 2019, revised September 2019. Plans prepared by David Ross dated July 2019, revised September 2019. And a letter titled Response to DPW Review and Planning Board Comments dated September 9th, which I believe is the second piece of paper for this case in the packet. And also a bullet point that please note that Mark and Dan also met with the applicant and engineer on September 4th, 2019. And hopefully Mr. Wetzel will be here a little bit later in the evening because I think he had a few comments in addition to his memo. But
Did everyone in the board have that in their packet and understand the response to the memo? It's there. Good.
yeah.
So Neil, you want to follow up on?
Yeah, I'll quickly follow up on what
Why don't you follow up on the changes in the meeting that you had at the DPW and then
Sure.
we'll go from there.
Well, first, let me thank the DPW for meeting with us on such a short timetable and then also getting their response out before tonight's meeting. That was great. I know they're just as busy as we are, so give them kudos for that. The concern that DPW had with our original plan or previous plan was the grass swale along the shoulder of the road. So we talked to them a little bit more about it. We had proposed possibly putting in a berm, a Cape Cod berm of some sort along the road. They weren't too crazy about that idea, so that was fine. So we went with the Last option, which was to pipe it underground, basically, and what we're doing is the house runoff and the driveway runoff is going into the R-tank systems. There's two systems, one between lots 1 and 2, and one between lots 3 and 4. So the overflow on the larger or longer events was just outletting to the lawn and then into the grass swale. So that was his big concern. So what we've done is pipe that overflow underground through the drainage easement that we already had established between the houses and the road. And that connects directly to the catch basin in Shaker Road down at the end. And as Mark had mentioned at the last meeting, he recommended that that catch basin be removed and replaced with a properly designed, more current type of catch basin with the hoods. So we have done that. We've included details on all that information. So the pipe coming out of that is a 12-inch corrugated metal pipe, and we are connecting into that with a 12-inch corrugated pipe. So we're trying to match in kind. So we made those adjustments for them, revised our drainage calculations as such, and actually in the 2 and 10-year storms, the amount of water going there was reduced even more, but the 100-year went up just a little bit. But we're still sending less water to that design point from pre-construction by upwards of 20 to 25%. So all the other driveways, the houses, all that stayed the same. So the adjustments were basically what to do with the grass swale, which we removed. We piped it underground, and we've agreed to replace that existing catch basin and then connect to the existing pipe that's already there. And again, we met with them, they agreed to those things, and we got them the revised plans, and they were able to look at it before tonight, which was great.
Anything else in the letter, the original letter from the DPW? Did you talk about that bonding performance bond?
We did talk a little bit about it, and our applicant is certainly agreeable. Anytime you do work in a town way, that
That's automatic.
is understood,
Right.
but on the private property side of things, it gets a little bit muddier legally. So again, I think setting up a bond when it comes time to apply for the road opening permit would be, it's understood by applicant that would be expected.
Yeah, that was usually when, we get ready to have conditions of approval for a project, I usually consult with DPW and, get the language set and the amount set. And that's why I was hoping Mr. Wetzel would be here this evening, because I don't have that information right now, and I'm not prepared to, suggest a condition of approval related to the surety for this, but, so.
I mean, I'm sure there'll be one in place. It's just, what's the
Right.
number? And
Yes.
how does
Yes.
it all legally drafted up? I'm not a lawyer, so
Right.
I don't want to get in
Yes.
the middle of that. But.
Right.
Anyone else have any questions about the revisions? And appears to me they've done what we have asked them to do and the DPW has asked them to do. My only comment is that, I'd be willing to, vote on this and make a motion, ask the board if they're interested in making a motion. But I think we should defer to Mark Wetzel showing up. So if you don't mind a slight delay, we'll go to the next agenda. item.
That's fine.
And then we'll move on.
Sounds like a
And then
reasonable-
step
yeah.
back to this.
Yep, that sounds like the
Yeah,
right
yeah.
thing, because I'd like to hear,
The timing and the amount, the timing, the type of surety, and, what it will be tied to is in the amount, is something we have to.
And what we
nail
can,
down.
do we, I guess this is new because it's under NIPD's, I don't think we've done one of these before, so.
Not
the
in
con-
NIPD's.
The conditions that we would put on this would be, the conditions they were allowed to put on because of the NIPD's
Right, for the
town bylaw.
stormwater.
Stormwater
Right,
bylaw.
yes.
Okay.
So it has to be stormwater related, or related to the guarantee of the
And related to the
performance of
drawings
those.
that-
Right, yes. Yeah, so we're not approving a general site plan, we're approving a site
Yeah.
plan for the stormwater drainage cycle.
Because they're A&R lots.
I understand,
Yes,
yeah.
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 But
Yeah.
the other runoff on the site that's not being addressed by the new piping and whatnot, that's just gonna be overground and.
Well, we evaluated the whole site, pre-construction and post-construction.
Right.
So we had 3 different, it's not shown on that particular plan, it was shown with the drainage cover.
Yeah,
There's
okay.
3 different design points. There's one design point that goes up to the Route 2A, up that little neck. And then another one that goes to the catch basin, and a third one that ends up in the wetland, the low point down at the corner of the property.
Right.
Again, pre and post, we evaluated all those watersheds and made sure that we were improving. The design point one was exactly the same because we're not doing anything other than putting the sewer line through there. And design point two was the biggest factor because that all the impervious is going in that direction.
Okay.
And the third design point was to the rear of the property because we're building up the land for the sewer line. So there's a berm back there blocking the water from going towards the roads, it's going towards the wetland. And we have a level spreader right outside the 100-foot buffer zone behind lot number 5 here.
Right.
To kind of slow that pace down. And again, all that calculations were given to DPW to review and they were happy with it.
Okay. So if the board agrees, then we'll delay this.
Table it until
Mr.
Mark gets there.
We'll table it till.
He's expected to come, that's great.
Yes.
Yeah, he told me he was expecting to be here this evening, but
Okay.
At that
Something
point,
came
we
up.
should be willing to make a motion to move this along.
Now you got a full agenda.
Okay? Oh, any comments from the audience? I'm not sure if anyone has got any comments on that. No? Okay. All right, so the next item on our agenda tonight is the continued public hearing for the proposed definitive subdivision of Shaker Road, 23 lots, Daniel and Joel Aho.
Good evening. Balancing out. Before I forget, Mark, Heather had asked for the check for the legal advertisement. And that's the check, so if you could take care of that, I would appreciate
Yep.
it. Good evening.
Good evening.
I was hoping to show you a little bit more on the plans, briefly. And then I had some meetings with other people in town the last week. I thought I'd reiterate what I've learned. And then go through some of my questions that I have as what we need to do moving forward. And answer any questions that you might have. Does that make sense?
Review your name, just for the record again, John, please.
Oh,
The
sorry,
audience.
John Boardman, with Places Associates. I'm a registered professional engineer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Speaking of names, the fire chief didn't like our pond view subdivision. And so I think we're gonna just call the subdivision Shaker Mill Pond. And we'll change that on the plans on our next round of submissions, so. As long as there's no objections to that. Mark, Ken, I'm sorry, you'd asked for a little more detail on the plans as we went forward. One of the things that we mentioned at our last meeting was utilities, so I thought I'd just walk through that quickly and answer any questions that came up. I'm not sure this is gonna stay here, but I'll try. So,
Now, we do have an issue here because we don't have another set of drawings, so should we kind of turn it so the board can look, then the audience can see as well?
sure. If I turn it, I guarantee I'll drop something.
You need a hand with
Yeah,
that?
that's fine.
There we go. So this is the grading and drainage sheet, and this, I've just highlighted on it, pink for you guys what the drainage on site is. Give you a quick overview of that. Standard catch basin and manhole system. We've got a high point in the road, roughly in the middle of the site.
Right.
So we got water that sheds in two different directions. We've got a set of catch basins located right out at Shaker Road so that we don't have any water entering into the existing right-of-way. And another set of catch basins partway up the slope. Those come together at a point here and will be cleaned using a Vort Sentry, which is a hydrodynamic separator. If you're familiar with those, the water comes into them, it swirls around, it allows the sediment to drop out. They've got screens in it, they catch the trash. They're designed to remove the 80% TSS, which is the requirement under the Mass DEP stormwater regs.
So these are passive instruments that don't require electricity or anything, just naturally, the water naturally, it's kind of like a cyclone, but underground, is that kind of like?
It looks like kind of like a catch basin or a manhole. It's a big concrete structure, but you're exactly right. The water comes in and spins like a cyclone.
And the heavy stuff
the heavy stuff drops
goes right
out
down.
and the flowable gets stagnant. They do need to get cleaned out regularly, but so do catch basins and everything else in the drainage system. So that's just par for the course. The drainage on the other half of the property, we've got a catch basin located here and a catch basin picking up any overflow from that area of ponding, wetlands that's located there, coming down, set of catch basins just before you enter the cul-de-sac. The cul-de-sac is also tipped back, so that becomes a low point. Again, we're going to use a Vortex entry, another one of those hydrodynamic separators, to clean that water before entering some underground detention. Think of it like a big septic tank. Holds the water, slows it down, lets it store in there, and then lets it out slowly, and that's how we don't have any increase in rate of runoff leaving the site.
I was going to ask you, do you do testing in the location of those subsurface?
I have not.
So you're anticipating the soil is this going to penetrate the soil at that point in time? It's just going to take and clean it for a while? And
It's
then
like a detention basin. It holds it and lets it out.
All right, but it's
So we're not
subsurface,
trying to put it in the ground.
Right,
Correct.
it's not, okay.
subsurface,
Not infiltrated.
but not infiltrated.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so we don't need to worry about sand and gravel. And from there, we have an outlet that comes down, discharges here, convenient location back on the site, and would eventually flow overland down towards Shaker Mill Pond.
One of the
Pretty
things that-
straightforward, pretty standard. Yes.
I thought there would be an expectation that either that plan or one of the other plans would show the limit of work line, with either,
We have-
silt fence, straw, something,
Yeah, proposed erosion control / limit of work.
You got it shown there?
Oh, it is there.
Yeah, it's that dark dash line that basically follows the back of all the lots.
So that-
I did not highlight it, maybe I have a highlighter. I don't. I'll make sure I highlight it on the next one for you.
Yeah, well,
But it's this dark dash line that right here follows the back of the lots, and that will either be hay bales or straw wattles, depending on what the Conservation Commission feels is appropriate, and that acts as the limit of work, limit of tree clearing, and basically where the open space starts.
Okay. Continue on, I guess. Now, is that the utility plan as well?
No, that was the grading and drainage plan.
Oh, excuse me. Anybody on the board have any questions? Go
Just a
ahead.
question, do we get into the guarding at the outlet of those pipes?
Give me that.
The grading, is there any protection for people, kids getting into the,
There'll
Is that
be
covered?
riprap, so there won't be any erosion in terms of somebody getting into the pipe. It's, I think they're 12-inch diameters, I don't think it's an issue.
Good, interesting question. Hasn't come up before.
Yeah.
Not typically seen on an outlet pipe, something like that. Something that could be talked about.
It's not gonna be that big.
Can I ask a question?
Well, when we're gonna do this, I should have explained to the audience as well. The applicant will make the presentation to the board will then discuss it, and then we'll go to the audience. Take all the questions in the audience at the end of the discussion.
So this is the utility plan. I just colored this one up briefly to give you an idea. The green is the low-pressure sewer system, the E1s. I think we talked about that substantially last time. Basically, there's a small pump at each house that pumps the effluent into the force main system, and the combined effort of all those pumps basically push it through the force main and to its eventual destination, which in this case would be up Shaker Road, closer to Route 2A. So I've got the green shown here, just gives you an idea. The force main basically runs down the length of the road, and then we have services that go to each of the individual dwellings. Also shown on there is the water in blue, similar. We're going to be bringing the water from Shaker Road into the site. Again, up near 2A is where our pickup will be. It'll come onto the site, water main running down the main drag, and then we're looping that using the existing sleeve under Shaker Mill Pond.
Existing sleeve,
Yeah, there was a 6-inch HDPE pipe installed under the Shaker Mill Pond a number of years ago. So we're going to use that to loop the water back and connect it over onto 2A.
so the way I understand this now is, we're talking about this as the proposed work, but the DPW will have input on all of this design work and thoughts and so forth as we go along in the
We've
process.
met with them numerous times about how they want the sewer and the water connected, and this is where we're ending up, so yes.
So you say you've got an existing pipe there. Is that pipe capped and clean, it's perfect the way it is, or how do you
It'll be cleaned out, flushed out, sanitized, and pressure tested at the time,
It's
and they
only
do
a
all the
six-
work.
And that's only a 6-inch line, you said?
Yeah.
So
I would think you'd need, like, isn't it gonna be like an 8-inch main going across it?
It's an 8-inch main that comes down onto the site. The 6-inch just provides a loop
Just
so
a
that you
loop?
don't get stagnant water.
I
That's all.
understand that's what it's doing, but,
Yep.
and you've talked to them about that already?
It's been on all the plans.
Excuse me.
It's not on the plans, but we haven't really.
Now present in the room is
Formal,
Mr.
and
Wetzel
Mark
from
Wetzel,
DPW.
Superintendent of Public Works. We've talked about it, but there's, there's some issues looking at the detailed design. Number one is, you've still got a fair amount of houses after the dead end, so I don't know if there's a way that could be extended so that we don't have houses after the dead end. We would like a hydraulic analysis to show that there is adequate fire protection at that location. 8 inch is a little small. If it's fed with it, generally my rule of thumb is we don't want any pipe longer than 1,000 feet under 12-inch size unless it's reinforced. So this does have a 6-inch feed, but a lot of times you get a lot of head loss. So we want to see some analysis to make sure that we have adequate flows and pressures. And I'm also not real crazy about down at the cul-de-sac, how that's laid out. It's kind of got a lot of little twists and turns and long services. And so we want to look at that in a little more detail.
Okay, so
We can
that's,
certainly do that.
that's the stage that we're at right now. We're in the
Yeah.
presentation stage and evaluation stage, more or less, and plans will be revised in accordance with their recommendations.
And if I may, we have done probably, I would say, a 75% review of this.
Okay,
If I wasn't comfortable with releasing the comments, I had to sit down and talk to the town engineer. We've been dodging each other for the past few days. So we do have draft comments, and some of them are general, like hydraulic analysis for the water. We've talked about looking at an alternative to low-pressure sewer. I think probably generally that's probably the best solution at this point, but we also want to look at the option of a gravity sewer with a pump station, single pump station.
It's all been
We need
options
to-
all the way along the way. So
Right.
we've been talking about all these things, so nothing's a surprise to that.
okay. On the utility plan, you didn't see, what I saw, I didn't see any underground electrical shown, or any electrical, telephone, Comcast, underground type stuff.
Yeah, I didn't show them on the site plan. Generally, what happens is we provide a CAD file to the electric company, and they tell us where they want the transformers, and they tell us where they want the lines installed, but they won't look at it until something's approved. So I could draw it on there, but it's kind of meaningless until the electric company gets involved, so I tend to leave it off.
Are you gonna have natural gas too, or?
I don't think there's any close enough that's worthwhile to put in, cost effective.
That was a good question. What was your answer to that, John?
I don't think there's a gas service in Shaker Road, so I don't think it's close enough to be viable for this project at this point.
But if you combine all the projects on Shaker Road, would you consider that? If you combine all the projects on Shaker Road, have National Grid take a look at bringing the gas line down? I think energy efficiency wise, it's gotta be way better than, what are you gonna put in there, oil or?
Haven't gotten to that point yet.
Yeah, because it's gotta be oil electric, right?
Propane.
Propane, it's another option, but again, it's,
No, natural gas would be great, but they probably would charge 30 heavy feet.
I think you should investigate it anyway. I just have a bias towards that, and I think it's best in the long run to have the option of natural gas for the residents. I think you'll find it's worth it, but I don't have any idea what it costs. But they may consider it with the scope of the work that's going on down that whole street, so. All right, so we're not gonna show the electric and telephone and cable at this point in time, but we do have a requirement for street lighting. Is that street lighting shown?
There's not street lighting shown. I think my original conversation with Mark, way back in the preliminary, was not installing street lights. And to be honest, I looked at your
That
subdivision.
must be
No,
someone
we
else, 'cause
haven't
that's
talked
not
No, I
my,
got notes on
Streetlights for
it.
well,
Sound
then you
like
clean it
one.
up, because that's
Okay.
not in my standard MO.
All right.
Yeah.
So if we need streetlights, we'll simply add them.
Okay, so I recommend that you show the streetlights on that
Yeah.
utility
Yep.
plan.
Mr. Chair, while
Oh, excuse me.
he's
go ahead.
writing a note, one thing that was now resolved at the prior meeting, which may have been discussed with the fire department, is the width of the road.
Oh, yeah.
I know the fire department was concerned with the waiver request going down to a 20-foot paved width, and I wanted to ask Mr. Boardman what he discussed with the fire department about the road.
Did you read my cheat sheet? Because that's number 3.
Oh, no, I didn't, but I want to make sure that got covered.
Yep. No, I had a couple of meetings,
Where was the cheat
was
sheet?
it last week?
He's got
He's joking. He's joking. He didn't give us a cheat
No.
sheet.
Got it.
Right.
No, it's my cheat sheet.
We're not that comfortable yet.
Keep going, keep going, Mr. Boardman.
So I had a couple of meetings last week. I was able to sit down with DPW, Mark. I was able to sit down with the fire, and I was able to sit down with the building commissioner. The roadway width, basically, well, we'll start with the fire. They want to see 20-foot wide common driveways.
Okay.
Okay, and they want to see roundings on those, similar to what you would have for a road. So basically, if you're constructing a common driveway, it's
Yep.
going to look very much like a road. Or at least the road that I proposed at the 20-foot
Right.
width.
Yeah.
So it's an issue that we're going to work forward and have more to talk about on that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
In terms of fire's concern about the overall width of the road, I'm not sure that they were fully aware. I pointed out that it was 20. Their basic answer was wider is better. So
Okay.
20 meets the minimum. However, they would like to see it wider, obviously, so that they can make sure they have equipment. They were glad to hear that there was shoulders and sidewalks and there was space.
Right.
Yeah.
But they were interested in wider is better on
Yeah.
the overall pavement. Taking that, I also met with Mark and the town engineer, and I haven't had a chance to read his letter. What we had discussed in their office was going to a 22-foot wide pavement and a 5-foot sidewalk with a 3-foot grass strip. That's an increase in pavement of 2 feet, increase in the sidewalk from 4 to 5. We had originally shown 4 based on your regulations. They're asking for 5. And doing the math, that leaves us with a 3-foot grass strip that runs between the two. And again, they were interested in having that grass strip as a place for snow and snowbanks, as opposed to putting the sidewalk directly up against the curb. So I'm hoping that that still makes sense, what we talked about. Okay. Also talked with fire about hydrant locations, and I flipped the plan, I apologize. I think we've got one hydrant located up in this area and one located here on the plan. They asked me to slide this one further back towards Shaker Road, and we obviously will do that. They wanted the fire protection right as they pulled in, gave them the availability. So we'll make that adjustment on the plans as we go forward. Let's see, the other item that was brought up in the review by Mr. Archambault was the open space requirement. We were surprised by that, that portion of the zoning bylaw applies to a cluster subdivision requiring open space on the individual lots in addition to the open space that's the open space.
It's a parcel, general parcel.
Yeah.
Versus a lot of open space.
So I did go back, I did the calcs on what has been submitted to you, and all of the lots conform with the exception of 3, 1, 2, 3, which are slightly under the 60% open space and will require some adjustments, either in house size, lot size, one thing or the other to make the numbers work.
Okay.
But I wanted to get back to you on that so that you understood that, we're close, you know, we're allowed 60%, I think one of them's 58 and one of them's 56. So they're just under because they've got a little bit longer driveway on those particular lots.
Right.
So it's a matter of making the math work, and as we move forward, we can work on that also.
Okay.
And then, there it is. The other surprise was the need for the site plan filing requirements, the 10% tree clearing, and that requiring a site plan application. We have not made that application yet. My client's attorney is looking at that information to get a better understanding of it. But I also had some questions on it in terms of requirements for filing. It sounded like in discussing with you, it could be somewhat simplified. I guess I wanted to make sure that the board was comfortable with that. Looking through the requirements, there's a traffic impact statement, a landscaping plan, a photometric plan, some requirements for bicycles and things like that. I'm not sure that all those apply. The regs really look like they were written for a large commercial project.
Right.
That isn't going through subdivision process.
Yes.
So I'm not sure if some of that can be left out of the, or addressed briefly in the application process.
Yes,
As opposed
yes.
to-
We talked about this before with another project.
Right, with the
I
other
think we
project,
concurred
and that's
that-
where it first came up.
Just back me up on it, but I think we concurred that if the contents of the requirement, if it's 9.6, I think it is, of the subdivision,
Yep.
of the, excuse me, the bylaw regulations,
Mhm.
is shown on the drawings, or a separate drawing in the submittal, that we could review it.
Right, I
based
was
on
thinking a separate plan sheet that addresses those topics and discusses phasing and trees to be preserved. You know, the things that are described in 9.6. So a narrative with a plan sheet. So, and I believe we would even be willing to waive the fee because it's a concurrent site plan. And, you know, we want to make it as easy as possible for applicants.
Exactly, I understand, and I appreciate that. I just wanted to
Yes.
make sure we were all on the same page in that, and I didn't want to bring in something that
Right.
wouldn't meet your requirements and wouldn't be accepted.
Yeah, we could even set up a one-on-one meeting to go over the requirements and of that sort of site plan, and,
I'd temper that statement a little bit by not saying that we're trying to make it as easy as possible for applicants, but we're trying
Well, I
to,
meant-
we're trying to get the
yeah.
requirement
Right.
that's shown in the bylaw
Yeah.
right,
reduced to a quantity that would make sense by including it in a drawing and a narrative with the plan.
Yeah, the subdivision plan set could be
Instead of
part of the
asking for a whole
application.
separate application and a
Yes.
separate set of drawings.
Right,
And we'll
I'm trying to
work on
incorporate
that.
those plans as much
Yep.
as I can, and then address any information that's missing, either in letter form or supplemental information, was what I was hoping to do personally, so.
yep. And that's something that we will address when we eventually do get around to adopting the new subdivision regs. We'll have to make sure that topics like that are in there and how it meshes with the bylaw and those things. You know, the sections of the bylaw that also apply to subdivisions,
Correct. right.
we have to, you know, flag and, you know, sort of cross-reference. And, one topic that I wanted to bring up while we're all discussing general issues is the issue of a traffic study or, you know, traffic management for this road. That's something that the abutters are concerned about. Shaker Road now is, you know, a rural road that doesn't have much for development. We're getting, you know, 8 units and duplexes on the A&R lots. We're getting the subdivision here, potentially some Madigan development there. So in discussing with the DPW superintendent, we talked about trying to set up a meeting with the Mass DOT to discuss, you know, traffic issues in this whole area as it would impact Route 2A. But also, we're also concerned with, you know, the traffic in Harvard. So, you know, I drafted a scope of work that we could discuss in terms of a traffic study, but I wanted to, you know, have a general discussion about the need for a traffic study if the planning board felt we need a special one, focusing on Shaker Road itself, looking into going into Harvard a little bit. You know, what is the feeling of the board? I want to also discuss that with Superintendent Wetzel. Before we get too far along, you know, now would be the time to line up those studies if we want them.
Any comments, Jonathan?
You know, I think that would be wise. I'm most concerned about that intersection that we've talked about before. As you see it in the current plan, you got this complex jog here. I just want to turn it to the camera so that everyone can, and also to the audience. But obviously here, you got the situation, go here, 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 like that. And that is a safety issue. And I think that there has to be just some discussion about moving this over here. And I recognize that that puts it right up against the wetland. And I believe that one thought is a retaining wall. But I do think that one way or another, we're going to have to discuss this because this does not seem like a viable option, this job. So I think that's something we have to be cognizant of.
Julie or Nathan, any other thoughts, comments, traffic study wise?
I just agree with the necessity.
My thoughts are that we need to at least look at from down Shaker Road, over the culvert, around the corner, off to the golf course.
Right.
Get a count on what kind of vehicles are going down there and the safety of that intersection. So I'm not sure we have to go all the way to Route 2A because we brought this up before and we determined that the number of cars that are being added to 2A is potentially not going to be significant, but I would
Right.
recommend that you pursue the question in that if everyone agrees that you pursue the question and with DOT like you did before, Mass DOT, at least get their response.
Right.
But my concern is not so much with that intersection, but with that sharp corner with the two stop signs now and going down that
Right.
street. Currently, the road, I did go down Shaker Road, and the pavement width on Shaker Road, I taped it, it's like 22 width, the pavement is 22 feet wide. That doesn't include, the shoulders, because there aren't many shoulders. But our main concern is the intersection and the turn. But I have another question for John, and this is going to be related, John, but not exactly the same. And this is regarding the right-of-way that's shown on the two right-of-ways, which are connected and shown on the original plan. And
Yep.
your notes indicate that those right-of-ways are going to be removed, I think is the term you use. Do you have the authorization to remove those right-of-ways, or do we need to see something from the Shaker Hills folks, Mr. Curtis, that authorized you to do that and that we can understand that his,
My
Let's
understanding
change.
from council is that,
Mr. Aho is shaking his head, maybe he wants to.
No, I was just wrong with you.
Oh, okay.
my understanding from council is that as long as we replace the access with an access that is the same or better, we have the ability to move where that access is located.
Okay, well, is that your attorney?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not going to be my recommendation. My recommendation is going to be that we get the attorney from both sides to concur that that can happen. Because if this I did some research today and found the deeds and the sales and so forth, and it's pretty rock solid that his privileges across that.
That easement's been shown on every plan I've put in front of you.
Exactly, so.
Yep.
But the
And
language was,
and half of our
the
discussions-
easements were shown on the plan, but not the language that included their ability to use that, which is in their deed.
Well, we started here with a preliminary subdivision plan that showed the roadway extending all the way to the property line with the purpose of providing that access completely through the public right-of-way.
Right.
That was where we started this process. We intended to give them access from day one. In working with you, we've since moved the cul-de-sac back, so the right-of-way itself would end shorter and not be the full, I think it was 1,000 feet roughly. And then we provided an additional parcel, and the plan calls out paving a 16-foot wide access through that parcel to access the golf course. So I think we've made a good faith effort here to improve and meet the requirements.
Well, I understand what you've done, and it's obviously complete on your end.
Yeah.
But my concern, and I'll ask Mark to follow up with maybe our town council, is if our planning board is authorized to approve a drawing or a plan showing a change to a record plan that's existing currently, showing a right-of-way, and if we can do that. So I just don't know if we can. And maybe because I'm new to
I will
this.
see if I can get some information from our council to provide you that may help clarify that and/or make it easier for you to simply forward it to town council and say, is this guy right?
Well,
That would be, yeah.
my question is really not going to be directed to your applicant and to yourself, but more to the owners of the golf course and what they feel their rights are. And if those rights are changing, that we get something from them that says, we agree with this change. Otherwise, we have two plans. We have plans that are shown and recorded that indicate where it is.
Mm-hmm.
You're showing a change. But the recorded plan is for the property owner that is currently adjoining, the golf course. So that's what I'm asking. That's what I would like to get the answer to, is that the golf course agrees that any changes shown on their plan, they're willing to change the right-of-way.
Yep.
And they don't lose their use of it, obviously, but in land it changes, in location it changes.
I understand.
Okay, so that's one thing I had. But I guess I would ask the applicant if you have any response to the request for a traffic study, the nature of which we just talked about.
I haven't seen any information in terms of scope, costs, and
Oh,
what
okay.
you intend. Obviously, I think we've had some preliminary conversations. We want to see what comes up in writing, and then obviously what your intent is. If there are recommendations that result from the traffic study, who bears the cost of those?
Okay, so,
What are we buying into here?
Yep, well, I've been sharing this internally, if you could pass that along. I thought I had sent that to you, but basically, I'm looking at a somewhat limited traffic study, like compared to Global Montella, that would be focused more on Shaker and identifying the trip distribution from the subdivision, how much traffic will be going south into Harvard versus going in, north towards 2A, Littleton Road. Any recommendations as to off-site improvements on Shaker Road itself, with the curve, with the road surface, or, anything that might be pertinent that is related to the subdivision. Basically a fairly simple, I see a traffic study that would give us good baseline information from which to make decisions about the off-site improvements, what we might need to do with signage or that sort of thing to alleviate problems that might be going into Harvard, that sort of thing. So,
turning radiuses at the
yeah,
intersection.
turning radius. So I'm looking at it as a fairly simple traffic study, not to the level like Global Montella, we studied a wide area, and it was much more involved because it's a much bigger project and a more complicated area. So
When we had talked originally, there was some discussion of having other parties involved in this, for other parties that have projects in the area.
yes. Well, we can still open it up to that. I do not have an answer from the people at Mass DOT as to whether they can meet with us next week, though they indicated that Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday would be good for them, and I still have an email going out to them. So we could put that traffic study to them and see if they think it's, worth the effort, given the size of the subdivision, that sort of thing, and then we could move, fairly quickly next week on getting this distributed to engineering firms for quotes, but that's what I'm thinking.
Any other comments from
No.
members of the board on this, or thoughts?
No, thank you.
But
Just, if we are limiting it to this intersection here,
well, it's not limiting it to the intersection per se, but that's probably the most important,
right,
physical
right.
area that needs to be studied.
Yes,
What
so
is-
would the scope include Shaker Road, the
Yeah,
the eight?
Shaker Road, and going into Harvard a little bit, and, going up to the intersection of the 2A Littleton Road.
Yeah, so there would be two parties interested.
Right.
I think in particular, we want to know if, as one of the neighbors mentioned, the truck traffic and the impact the truck traffic would have going through and turning and making a turn on the new proposed road.
Right.
And whether they would come back and say, you know what, that,
Yeah, the truck
Entrance may
traffic,
need to
that's
be
the other thing that
modified.
needs to be looked at too, is the truck traffic. It would be part of the study,
Right.
all traffic that would be using the new subdivision road, cars and the trucks that are going there now.
yeah, so my recommendation is, it depends on what everyone agrees to, but I'm not so sure we need to check the intersection, which, as I said before, Shaker Road and 2A.
Right.
But that we need to concentrate on what's closer to this project.
Right.
Well, I disagree,
Okay.
because I think the
Okay.
intersection with Shaker Road and Littleton Road is more of a significant issue.
Okay.
You've got poor sightlines, you'll have this project plus the A&R lots on Shaker Road, plus any traffic from the golf course. And we've got a lot more development going on Littleton Road.
Okay.
You got a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit, and that was my recommendation, was to try to get MassDOT to look at that intersection. They didn't seem very interested, I'm not sure why, but we are going to meet with them and talk with them. But I mean, this intersection down here is more of a geometry issue, how you manage the traffic. But I don't think it warrants a true traffic study. I think it warrants a, how do you manage the traffic study? How do you get better turning radiuses? I don't go down there a lot, but I was down there looking at the beaver activity the other day, and a golf event was getting out, and there was a lot of cars coming through, and just me parked there was causing an issue with the traffic. So, So there are those kinds of issues, but I don't see it as a huge traffic issue. But then again, I don't, live down there and see what the traffic is, but I think the other intersection has some safety issues.
Okay.
Well, I would just say that also, fire has asked us to show the turning radius of access from getting Shaker Road into the site, turning around, the fire truck, and all the turning maneuvers for the fire truck, and that's going to be forthcoming from our office anyways. That may help to answer some of the questions and or identify a concern without the need for a large study. So that might be the first piece of information that I can provide that would be helpful. And then we can find out what MassDOT wants to say from there.
Well, if the other members of the board concur, I'd like to leave it up to Mr. Wetzel, Mr. Ashenbo, and Mr. Boardman to resolve the question of the traffic study and the extent of the scope of work.
Amen.
With the applicant's approval, we'll conduct that traffic study.
Right. I'm hoping that we can have the meeting with MassDOT next week because, time is of the essence. And they gave us 3 days. It's just a matter of trying to get one nailed down. But yeah, I think probably the best course of action would then be meeting with Mass DOT first, discussing the issues of traffic in the area, but also discussing, Shaker Road and what I drafted as a scope. See how efficacious that might be in giving us information that we need. And then, I could report back to the board in a staff report, and we'll be in communication.
Okay with you?
Mark has my email.
Okay, yes.
Everyone on the board agree with that analysis?
Yes,
Do we
that's
need
a
a
good.
motion for that?
I don't think
Just,
so.
keep
It's
it
more
moving.
like what we do.
Okay.
And before we go to the abutters, and that, while we're on the subject of traffic, we have 2 letters. I just wanted to announce this for the record. They're long letters. One is from Kathleen Shields at 157 Shaker Road in Harvard, Mass. And the other is from Melissa and Daniel Tracy at 149 Shaker Road. And I know they both raised traffic issues in their letters. So those are in the packet for the subdivision.
Could I get copies of those, please, Mark, in the future?
Yes.
Anything else
I
for-
could give you my copies right now.
No, that's fine. Just send an email with them if you would or something so I can get them in my file at some point, that's all.
Well, I could give you, we have extras, so here.
Sure.
If you could pass those.
Save me.
Anything else? Mr. Moore?
John, is there anything else?
Anything else?
I answer any questions and that you guys might have or that the butters might have. And we should see.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on?
Okay, so Mr. Boardman seems to be finished, so any abutters that might have a question, let's hear it.
Oh, here's the letter that came
Do
today.
you want to talk about the letters that you guys submitted if you're
Okay,
here?
we don't have the other. Okay, thank you.
Okay, here's the letter that just got submitted today by the Tracys. So I'm just
Thank you,
handing
Mark.
it out because I'm not sure it made it into the official packet.
Thank
So much paper to keep track of.
you. You think? Killing any environmental effort we do over there.
So can I make a comment on the traffic study?
Sure.
So
And your name is?
I'm Kathleen Shields, I live at 157 Shaker Road.
Okay.
So we're right on the corner
Right.
of, we're sitting right here, right there. And our house is actually an historic Shaker home that sits 30 feet from the road, so we're very, very close to the road.
Excuse me for a second. When you say your house is 30 feet from the road, you're talking about the paved surface of the road?
Yes,
Not the right of way?
no, it's from the paved surface of the road.
Okay.
Yeah, we're 30 feet back from the road.
That doesn't show it to you, but-
And I think there might be some misunderstanding because our home is actually in Harvard. We have 1.26 acres in Harvard and we have 0.27 acres in Ayer. The home itself is completely within the bounds of Harvard and the rest of the property is taxed by Ayer. So, one of the biggest concerns, and I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name.
My name is Mark Wetzel.
Mark Wetzel. Yeah, when you were talking about this intersection here as maybe just being more of a, technicality or logistic thing, but I did want to bring up the point, and I brought this up in my letter, is that so Shaker Hills Golf Course is an 18-hole golf course. It's a restaurant, it's a bar. It has wedding functions, it has, functions all year round, even in the wintertime. And they have very large 18 wheels, Cisco and Coca-Cola trucks that go down that road. And they have to, right now they're able to take the right-of-way, so even then they have trouble, mainly because it's such a narrow right-of-way. But with this type of a turn, there's absolutely, I don't see any way that they could actually make this type of a turn without completely destroying our property. I mean, it would be, and not only that, it would be both dangerous as far as blocking this entire area. But I don't think they'd be able to turn into a narrow road. When I did some research on, large trucks, and if they have to make a 90-degree turn, they have to have a 27-foot wide road in order to make that kind of a turn. So, and this was just some online research I did. So don't, I'm not trying to be an expert at all on any of this.
Okay.
But that to me is a huge concern. The other big concern of mine is that having lived there for 30 years, and my husband works south on 495, I go north up to Andover. But I can tell you, and I've also gone into Boston in various years, but we often use Shaker Road as our commuting road. So if we're going south on 495, then you commute through the Shaker Village. That's just the easiest way to do it. And that would be exactly what anyone who lives here who, works south on 495 will go that route. It's just,
Really?
yeah, and even to go to Route 2, it's better to go, Shaker Road. You bypass all of this high school traffic, all of that traffic on 2A that has gotten very, very busy. You bypass all of that and you go, past the old Berry Fines and get on at
Taylor Road, Taylor Street.
Taylor Street, that's it. Yeah, so I think when you're considering, the whole traffic assessment, you have to look at how many trucks daily, weekly, go up to the golf course. What size are the trucks?
Seasonally. as well.
Seasonally, yeah. They've got all that information. How many golfers? Weekly. Weekends are just, you can imagine, are crazy. But then also, I think you really do have to engage the town of Harvard. I think it's really important that the Shaker Village understands what kind of impact this is going to have on them. And I don't just mean the additional traffic, I mean the incredible danger of that road. It is an amazingly dangerous road. And you've biked it, so It's a very scary road.
Well, I think your comments are well taken, but I honestly believe we're on the right track, and we're going to be looking at all of those particulars.
Yeah, I guess I had heard you say that you would go as far as Shaker Hills for the, up to Shaker Hills.
I'm not sure. We'll have to find out from Mark and the experts where our authority begins and ends, and that is complicated with the town line being right there.
Right.
I'm not sure about that.
Is that something that, and I'm just asking, this is very naive, but is that something that we should engage the town of Harvard in?
Well, all the towns are notified. When a subdivision is in one town, the other towns are automatically notified. So they will get all the documents, and there'll be a chance for the administrators and the experts to talk
to decide if there should be then a traffic assessment.
I think the same thing
further.
happened on the Golden Montella project. Harvard was on the other side of the line.
Right.
There was a discussion with the
Yeah.
side. So typically that would be the case. But I don't know where our authority begins and ends with that is what I'm getting at. So it may be that Harvard has to.
Yeah, the
Well,
exact.
she might know.
Yeah, the
Come
exact- right.
Well, no, I just wanted to say that, to something she said, living on 2A in that area, I can tell you that all the mapping and nav systems that are out there right now will direct you if you are heading south on 495 or you need to get to Route 2. They direct you to go down Shaker and cut through that way. They will direct you the whole way. If you have to go, say, to Hudson or Bolton, they're going to direct you all the way down and through Harvard. 90% of the time, depending on the time of day.
Again, that's technology. It's outside our.
Right, no, it's technology, but as more people are coming into that area, we're seeing traffic increase and people stopping and turning. Traffic in front of my house is often backed up because of people making the left into Shaker Road on that side.
Well, I think all of this is supporting the fact that we need to do a traffic study. So we understand
and that's
that.
what
We're going to move
I'm
on
saying.
with that.
I just think for public safety, it's important that the length of Shaker Road be considered for public safety reasons.
Okay, want to make a note of that? We have to figure out how to talk to
Right,
Howard about it.
yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. And I really would encourage you to read my very passionate letter.
We'll definitely read it.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you for taking me on.
I had something for her.
Mr. Chair, one thing.
Oh, I wanted to ask her a question, excuse me.
Oh, sure.
since you talked about the truck traffic and whatnot, and I think I know the answer, but I'm not sure. Do we understand that the traffic, and I'll ask this to John and Mr. Aho, do we understand that the traffic going into the easement road or the right-of-way, is that one-way traffic, that it goes in, drops at the clubhouse, continues by, and goes back out Shaker, or do they turn around and come back out the same way?
I don't know what their process is.
Well, that's what I'm gonna ask her.
Yeah, absolutely, they come back out the same way.
They do?
Oh, yeah, they can't,
Okay.
they can't go,
Excuse me?
they never, I've never seen them go anyway but in and out the same right of way. Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
It just seemed to me that it's, I mean, I've played golf there many times, it seemed to me it would be a lot easier if they drove in, came by the building, maybe dropped their load and came right out and came in one
I
direction.
can get the.
Yeah, they probably can't make the turn in front of the
Oh, yeah, they
Tracy's.
can.
Well, first of all, that gate,
Its radius though is in the right direction.
the radius is in the right direction, but the gate that they have to actually go through to get out of that exit,
Yeah.
you know, it's like,
You'd be
it's-
surprised that road's 20 feet is pretty
but
wide.
it's also got, I mean, it's very, very narrow.
So these are things that we need to throw out there and discuss because,
Yeah, and I mean, I'll just throw out something that I really, just a question that I have is, when the golf course was being built, or when the new owners even took it over, and they decided to, you know, have this right of way as a service road.
no, they didn't decide that.
Okay.
That goes way back, believe me. I
Uh-huh.
looked at every one of those deeds this morning. It goes
Uh-huh.
way back in the 70s, before the golf course.
Before the golf
Was
course.
put in place by Mr. Underwood, who owned it, by it
Oh,
Underwood.
yeah, I know.
You know, by it and
Yeah,
Lois,
yeah,
who happened to be
yeah.
connected to mine
Right.
in-laws. But
But I guess when the golf course was granted access,
no, they weren't granted
okay,
access.
maybe I'm using the wrong terms
Right.
here.
They,
So, in other words, that service road, maybe let me rephrase this. Can the large service trucks that go to the golf course, can they go up Shaker Road and turn into the golf course?
No. They can't
Probably
make that
not.
turn.
They can't make the turn.
Okay.
Have to come through there.
So, and they can't do it just because they didn't design that entrance properly, or because there was an agreement that they would not go up Shaker Road?
Well, that we don't know, but I'll make a guess, and that, my understanding, just hearing it through the grapevine, was that they didn't want the traffic down Shaker Road in the first place. They wanted to make sure nobody came out of that entrance and took a left on Shaker Road to the Shaker Historic Area.
Yeah.
So they forced that radius in there. And that had to be in agreement with the town of Harvard, not the town of Ayer.
Right.
Because the only control that the town of Ayer had on that was the building sits in the town of Ayer. So there was a site plan approval for the building and its utilities and services and access and so forth that involved Shaker Road and
Yeah.
around that area, but didn't go beyond that.
Yeah. Well, I guess,
So
so,
you're, as a resident of Harvard, as an exercise, it might be beneficial for you to go to the town of Harvard and ask what their approvals included. And you might get that answer.
yeah, I can tell you, I mean, I'm just trying to be a rational individual, having lived there for 30 years. But if you take a large truck and you try to go up Shaker Road and try to make that turn, let's say it's a fine, perfect turn into, it's so dangerous because you're on the other side of that hill, you're blinded. You're coming around a corner, you're totally blinded, and these trucks are gonna take a while to make that turn. It would have been a disaster had Harvard, if that's the case, had Harvard allowed them to go up Shaker Road. It would have been incredibly, incredibly dangerous.
Okay, so we're on the right track, I think.
Yeah, you know,
Talking
just,
about a traffic study and so forth.
yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
You're
Thank
very
you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the audience on comments?
Yeah, I have a question to
Questions?
go back to.
Sorry, can you introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry,
first?
Melissa Tracy.
Thank you,
Shaker
Melissa.
Road, Harvard High. To go back to a comment that was made rather briefly earlier about the utilities which are going to be going to the subdivision. Did I understand that that you have decided that the water and the sewer are going to come underneath Shaker Pond? Is that
No.
correct?
Just
No.
one.
No,
I'm
just the
correct.
water. Just the water.
Okay, so that is a done thing? That is what has been decided and been
That's
approved?
what's been proposed, hasn't been approved.
Has not been approved?
Right.
Okay.
So
Is
the
that something
presentation right now includes the presentation by the applicant and them showing their proposed locations for utilities. And the discussion will continue with our DPW regarding whether we accept that proposal and
I
make
see.
changes to it and amend it. And they'll change the drawings along the way. So there could be a number of revisions in the plans as it goes through the approval stages from meeting to meeting. before it's finally approved. But at the moment, what I learned tonight was I didn't realize that there was a sleeve under the Shaker Mill Pond.
That's the first we had heard of it
So
originally.
we're all hearing that because that's,
Yeah, we had heard that.
I don't know, was it
you wanted to go
detailed
up
on the
Shaker
drawings
Road.
that it said there was a sleeve there? Or did it just
Yeah.
show the pipe?
No, it was labeled, and I think it was labeled on the preliminary subdivision also.
Okay, so we have a
That
sleeve
was
there.
put in 20 years ago.
So
or
you say
something.
somewhere along the line in
10
the
years
past,
ago.
that hadn't even been approved, gone through
I don't
conservation.
have any records at all.
Okay, so we need to survey that and determine. The point of right now is that we're at the preliminary stage of approvals and we'll go through a number of changes and the applicant will update their plans according and get
Right,
approvals
and-
from DPW.
And that would not be the only
Option.
option, the preferred, well, the preferred option, which apparently that's not accessible, is to tie in Bennett's Crossing where we have a sewer pump station and adequate sized water main. We don't like to have dead end water mains, that's why if it came down Shaker Road, which is the now preferred method, and tied in here, then it would loop back with the 6-inch main under the pond. When I hear that it's a sleeve, that doesn't.
Sorry, I'm using the wrong words. It's the
A dry pipe.
HDPE, yeah.
So what we would need to do before we would approve use of that is to have it tested and inspected, know where it is, how deep it is, if it's structurally sound. But there's another complicating factor is that Shaker Road, where it turns and goes up to Littleton Road, there's a little corner about 150 feet or so that's in the town of Harvard. So we have talked to the town of Harvard and whether they would allow water and sewer utilities in that, and there's been no decision made on that. But that's, from the DPW's point of view, that would be my preferred route, is to have our utilities on the road rather than cross-country here or there. And we wouldn't allow this to be fed by one 6-inch main under a pond. So there's still some issues with that. And if they do, if the Harvard selectmen do allow the utilities in Harvard, in Shaker Road, in the town of Harvard, then they need to get all the permits from Harvard to do that.
I see. And with the sewer also, now that we're talking about the possibility of the water,
It would be water and sewer.
no, I mean,
In
under
Shaker.
the pond. If
If
Harvard
I
says
went
no, can't do that, or for whatever reason you can't go up Shaker Road, but because it interferes with the wetland there, or the Bennett's Brook, or all the complications of that being essentially a river, from what I understand from the Ayer Conservation Commission. So there are a lot of complications about that area right there with Bennett's Brook and all that stuff. If, for whatever reason, you can't go up there, where would the sewer go?
But we don't know the answer to that now. They'll have to go through conservation and make a determination along the way, but we can't give you that answer now. It's too early. It's basically, we've
They're
got a
just talking about the
presentation.
water then.
Yeah, but we've got a presentation. The applicant has presented where he wants to do it. Now we'll resolve those issues in the next few weeks and decide how it's going to be done. And with the approval of the, obviously, Conservation Commission is going to be working at the same time as us and with DPW. So it's a little early to guess how that all's going to happen. At the moment, we know what they're applied for and what their drawings show, and that's what we can consider now. So,
I see. Thank you.
go ahead.
Yeah, Daniel Tracy, Shaker Road. I have a question for John on a point you made early in the presentation about the stormwater mitigation, and that is, you said that there was going to be 2 catch basins right along Shaker Road. Would they also catch the surface water coming down from the grade off the driveways and the road through the subdivision? Would that all, the surface water coming off the pavement?
Yeah, everything within
Catch basins?
everything within the subdivision gets collected and treated. There's a series of catch basins, 1, 6, 7 catch basins throughout the site that would collect the stormwater, treat the stormwater, and then discharge.
Where does it discharge to?
Discharges near the mill pond at the front, and then it discharges into the back of the lots.
When you say near the mill pond, would it be going into the mill pond?
Yes. eventually that's where all the water goes now, so.
So that would then, but now with driveways and cars and all that, so all of that would then drain down into the mill pond?
Correct. We've submitted a stormwater management, stormwater analysis design, and it complies with Mass DEP's requirements for cleaning the water, treating the water, making sure that no increase in runoff rates, and 10 stormwater standards that the Mass DEP issues.
I think that the audience should be aware of the fact that the engineers with their stamps and their, engineering background have to design according to standards that are set up by the state. So even though we're approving at a town level, they apply state regulations to stormwater regulations that are set up by the state. So there's no way to make an exception. It must comply, and they have to stamp it and turn in the correct calculations and the correct documentation that backs up those calculations.
Oh, I don't doubt that.
So we can feel comfortable that we
I
feel.
don't doubt that. I was just asking the question if it's
Yeah.
going to end up in the mill pond.
Right.
The mill pond is downstream of everything there, so yes.
I think that the general trend that he showed us on the first drawing was that the center of the site approximately is the high point. So drainage will go from the high point back towards Shaker Road, and the second half of the site will go towards the end of their proposed project. I think that's...
Chair, it might also help to reiterate that the water will be cleaned
Right.
per the state regulations
Exactly.
before it goes into mill pond.
Exactly. Okay, I think we'll move on. So I think we have to accept a motion from the board to continue the meeting, excuse me.
It is a hearing for the subdivision.
Oh, continue the hearing.
Continue the hearing.
So moved that we,
Unless there's any other comments that we missed.
Other comments? I don't think so. So,
Yeah, I make a motion to continue the hearing for the proposed subdivision off of Shaker Road until, is it?
September 24th.
September 24th.
Seconded.
it's been moved and seconded to continue the hearing. Any discussion? Hearing none, put it to the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time tonight.
Your comments.
Thank you.
Yeah, do you want to go back to the A&R lots?
Okay.
Yep.
So we're gonna,
Now that Mark's here.
Finish that, yeah.
Mr.
yeah.
Wetzel, now that you're present, we delayed the approval of the stormwater drainage analysis for Shaker Road for Home Scout till you appear, which you have. We looked at the plan, they gave us an explanation, but I feel pretty satisfied, but we didn't want to move it forward without any more comments from
For
yourself.
recommendation on
recommendation.
surety and bonding.
Do you want this one?
Oh, no, I don't need it. No, we met with I presented some issues at your previous meeting. We met with the engineer, we went through some of the issues. He revised the plan, submitted that, and corrected all the issues that we had. So right now, we're satisfied with the design. I think the only question was whether we require a surety, and we will with the road opening permit.
But we don't have to have the surety in our approval since it's beyond the
Yeah.
lot lines.
So we don't need to set the surety tonight.
No, that's something that I do as part of my permitting
Okay.
process. So I
I
have
just wanted
certain
to be
regulations or requirements that
absolutely sure about
when he works within the public right of way, they have to have certain,
Yeah.
trench permit, road
Right.
opening permit, certified, the contractor has to be approved, and they have to provide bonds and things like that,
Yeah.
so.
Could you pass me that plan? So in light of the hearing from Mr. Wetzel, I think the board should...
I will bring up one issue, and I don't know if it's been addressed or how it's being addressed, or if it needs to be addressed, is the outfall for the drain. So the drain overflows are going into the Shaker Road. They originally wanted to put in a swale or ditch drainage system. We required them to put in a pipe that ties into the catch basin. The catch basin will be replaced. But the outfall of that drain pipe is in Harvard, so I'm not sure what Harvard's regulations are. And Harvard is not what we call an MS4 community that has regulated stormwater, whereas in Ayer we are. So if that was discharging, and if it was from Harvard discharging in Ayer, we'd have some requirements on monitoring the outfall.
You want to show us where that is on this one?
It's,
I couldn't pick it up.
for the audience, the outfall is down here. For the board, it's down in this
Take a
one.
look, Mark, at where
You got it.
showing.
So the pipe, it doesn't really show an exact.
Yeah, it's
well, it's
right
right
there.
Right
where the arrow.
So it's that invert right
It says-
there.
Okay,
So it's in the right of way, but it's in the
Pipe
town.
exits out of here,
So-
daylight's here.
No,
Oh.
it's, so the road comes down like this, and there should be a drain, pipe sticking out
Okay.
in that ditch there.
There's a head wall, like a stone head wall at it too.
Yeah, I was just asking because our land abuts this very area here, and I wanted to ask Mark where that catch basin was, and
So
whether
there is
it will
there's
impact what
there
we
is an
have here.
existing catch basin up here. Based on having the infiltration system, and the grading, the engineer's calculations say there will be less water now, or when this is built, there'll be less water now.
And clean.
And that new catch basin that will be built, will it at all impact, see this
No.
ditch and into, go into our
No, there's gonna be
land at
no work
all?
done in the town of Harvard related to this. It's all
It's all in,
here.
it's all up here.
It's just tying into that pipe,
Okay.
and that pipe just happens to go
into our land.
well, near your land.
Water has a way of finding it.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Okay.
Just, if I may, Neil Gorman from Ross Associates again. I have been communicating with Harvard about this. Initially, it was sent to DPW in Harvard. They deferred back to Conservation. So I've been dealing with Conservation Agent Liz Allard, who's been in communications with the chair, Don Ritchie. And his most recent comments was in the email chain, and I can give you a copy of the emails here if you'd like, was that it looks better. Still, they should have a DMH detail, which then I pointed out to him is on sheet 5, clearly. And the inverts on the sump CTV seem tight, which again, we're dealing with existing elevation. So when we do that evaluation, when we remove it, we'll make sure that the inverts are the proper elevation. So they didn't seem to have any objections, but then the time ran out before getting here today, so I don't know what his last comment is, but the questions have been pretty basic. I did send them an email copy of the PDF of Mark's letter, so they just are aware of the situation, but given that we're sending less water there and cleaner water, I don't know how much objection they have. As Mark said, they don't really have a stormwater standards in town for that. Well, that part, DPW sent it to conservation. So.
Any further comments, Mr. Wetzel?
No.
Anything from the board?
No?
No.
Based on that, I would recommend that the board make a motion that we approve the Home Scout LLC Shoka Road A&R Development Project Stormwater Plans, if that's the correct title, dated with revisions of 9/9/19.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any more discussion? It's been moved and seconded that the planning board approve the Home Scout LLC Shaker Road A&R Development Project Stormwater Plan dated 9/9/19. Put it to a vote.
Aye.
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 Excellent.
So moved. Unanimous vote.
Thank you for waiting, Neil.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for all your time. Really appreciate it.
Okay.
Regarding switching things around, since Mark Wetzel's here, we should take the road. Well, no, we have to have the hearings though first for the subdivision. This one, we probably won't spend a lot of time on GPRs, but there's a lot of stuff still in flux. But before the public hearing for the zoning, we can take Mark for the road stuff, the road acceptance.
there's been a proposal by our planner that we amend the agenda since Mr. Wetzel is in the room, and we move the discussion recommendation regarding road acceptance layout to the next item on the agenda, thereby pushing back the continued public hearing.
Well, I was suggesting that we have the continuation of the hearing first, and then the road acceptance discussion
Oh,
before we
before
have
the
the public
public hearing,
hearing for
okay.
the zoning change.
I stand corrected.
Right.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Right, yeah.
The next item on the agenda then is continued public hearing for the proposed definitive subdivision, 5456 Wilton Road, 19 lots.
You guys
Please,
doing it right now?
please come up and give us an update on what's going on.
Good evening, Nick Bond from Wilson Press and Ringwall. Some revised plans as we were before you 2 weeks ago now. In the last 2 weeks,
Oh, looky.
since we came in, we've submitted revised plans as we talked about briefly at that time, as well as an all-encompassing response letter to any outstanding peer review, general comments. There's quite a bit of documentation that was provided. The plans that I put up on the board specifically is the final proposed layout. What you'll notice is, as hinted at the last time we gathered, we removed the attenuation area behind the D'Ambrosio's property, this area here. We were able to make calcs work by essentially taking this drainage swale and extending it slightly to capture more runoff as it came down the hill. We made some changes to the outlet control structure, but not the fill limits or clearing of the infiltration basin. There's been some changes to the property lines in this area before, just with that attenuation area, trying to keep it on the open space parcel. This property line came square and kind of created a notch in this back corner. We just squared that off. So this lot slightly changed. The open space parcel, the entire limits are now 54 and change percent of the total parcel. Excuse me, I can certainly go over any specific points of the responses of the letter. The response letter, as we mentioned, a month ago, I think, when we were upstairs in the sweltering, was as promised. We wanted to compile all the outstanding response comments, provide one documentation narrative form, feeling that we've addressed the majority of those. So this letter talks about Mark's letter from August 7th, a email exchange from August 13th. Yes, I'm
Want to
sorry.
refer to the date on the change? So when you say this letter,
The letter that we submitted was August 28th.
Yeah, it's a
want to
big,
make,
yeah, you got it.
So that's the response letter. Project review response letter is what it's entitled for the John Carroll Reserve. In it touches upon, in order, from the Office of the Town Planner, the site plan application comments dated August 7th. There was an email exchange from the fire chief and the town planner regarding the new sweep analysis for Ayer Ladder 1. That was dated August 13th. There was 2 BSC peer review group letters, one dealing with the stormwater management, the other with the notice of intent, and lastly, an updated Public Works comment where they reiterated, commented, I believe, on one of the comments from the BSC group letter, as well as reiterated some of their previous comments. So that's why we didn't include their initial letter, just because they reiterated. As you go through the letter, I know it's numerous, there's some supporting materials and things. The black is the comment from the peer reviewer. I think I see some black and white, so the lighter gray, or the green if you print it in color, is our response. That is the majority of what has happened since then. I believe there was also an email from Mark directly to my office asking 2 specific questions. One, the intentions of the roadway, whether or not it was going to intended to remain private or be accepted at the town meeting. We reiterated that it's the intention, because it's designed to town standards, to have it be accepted by the town.
The roadway itself, you say?
The roadway itself, yes, sir. And then the second was the ownership of the open space parcel. You know, we have, I know there are many options available. We have been operating under the assumption that the town take over the open space parcel, but there are other options available, be it that it's a nonprofit, a homeowners association, so on and so forth. So I believe there are some conversations still to be had about the acceptance and the maintenance. I know Mr. Wetzel is here, so he can certainly speak for himself.
Which he will, sure.
I'm sure he will, but I can certainly go over any specific response in our letter, anything about the plan themselves. It seems, based on our last meeting 2 weeks ago, you were generally, I'll say thrilled, but I know I'm putting words in your mouth, with the removal of the attenuation area. And other than that, I think we're just trying to clean up all the outstanding comments.
I just would thank you, Nick. So just, because I might have missed it when you said it.
Yep.
This letter, the letter you're talking about from August 28th, these responses include the 2 letters that were sent out before, one from the to the planning board, one to conservation.
That's correct, sir.
Plus the DPW comments. So we basically have 3 components.
You actually
put
have
together.
5 components,
Oh, okay,
sir.
5.
Yeah, there's actually Mark's comment about the site plan application.
Okay.
One of the comments is just an email asking that the most current, I believe they came up with the sweep analysis for Air Ladder 1 in the middle of July.
Okay.
So we revised that to include that most current. The 2 letters from the BSC group, one for the stormwater with the peer review engineer was actually here at the last meeting. And then the second letter was to the Conservation Commission dealing with the NOI and the open space development. And then lastly, the 5th component was actually from the Department of Public Works.
Okay, thank you. I see it here now in the front, but I just wanted you to
Yep, that's fine.
back that up a little bit so everyone realizes that. Mark, do you want to comment on the receipt of that letter at all?
Yeah, one thing I wanted to have the board discuss openly, because it seemed to take place rather quickly at the last meeting, is the issue of additional soil testing. And that's something we talked about briefly prior to the meeting, is BSC's comment from the August 27th meeting. This is their comment in their letter to us dated September 10th. Planning board did not request that the applicant perform any further soil testing at the meeting. BSC would encourage the board to consider other types of stormwater, basically the LID. And I just wanted to get the sense of the board that, you know, we were satisfied with not requiring additional soil testing elsewhere on the site.
That was an August 10th letter. You said September, I think.
Yeah, August 27th, they commented, BSC did, our peer review, about that issue. So I just wanted to bring that into open session, since at that meeting, things were happening so fast. I didn't get the sense that we not waived, but that we didn't.
I'm sorry, did you say August 27th?
Yes.
There's a letter that we don't have? Or we have 2 letters from them, August 21st.
September 10th. She's referring to August 27th.
That's today?
It's going to be August 10th. Some other date. Can't be September 10th.
She just got it, the letter she got us today is really just reiterating prior stuff.
Is that public record, Mark?
Yes, it is, and we can give you one, yes. It just came in.
Jonathan.
In fact, I think I sent it
Hey.
did I? If not, it will be. And you have it now.
So Mark, the question I have to you regarding, you posed to us this, for discussion, this issue of the recommendation of BSC for additional testing. And my question to you and to my other board members is that would those tests give us substantially actionable information different from what we have now? That's what I want to get at.
That's a technical question that I can't answer because
we did discuss it.
So do you know what
I just wanted to make sure that that was openly discussed, because it seemed to happen very quickly. And when Katie Moniz brought that to my attention, I said, oh, really? Because that didn't occur to me that night. So
Nathan, any comments? But I can tell you my recollection, based on what I commented on, and maybe that's how she got the thought.
Yes.
We saw the presentation that we just finished approving for the lot, the land across the
Right,
other side, the opposite side of Route 2A.
yes.
They told us over there that they'd done deep hole testing, and they
Right.
hit groundwater at like 22 to 26 inches.
Mm-hmm.
That was the same basic results that we got on the John Carroll Reserve land.
Right.
Based on that, I was of the thought that
Mm-hmm.
additional testing may not be required. She was recommending it down the center of the road, I believe, and maybe in
Okay.
some of the lots up at the front.
Yeah, that's what I remember too.
Right, so my
Yeah.
mentioning at that point in time that it seemed inconsistent to do that, just didn't seem like it might be necessary to do the additional testing, since the effort was already made to address the stormwater. We've seen all the reports, and
Right,
it seemed consistent that the land on either side of Route 2A faced the
Okay.
same difficulty.
yep,
So I was of the thought then that we would not require the additional test.
And that's similar to my understanding too, was that we read that it really wasn't necessary within
Right.
this particular context.
that sounds reasonable to me, I just wanted to be a cautious discussion of the board, because I didn't want it to be something that was an oversight,
Yes.
and whoops, we forgot about it, so.
No, that's fair.
That's all.
So-
And,
Nathan, any ideas, any
So,
thoughts?
No, that's my notes from last 2 weeks ago. Same
Okay.
comment.
yeah.
So my question to Mark Ashambo is the contents of this letter, which are August 28th, when we approve this project, does this become part of the conditions of our approval, that we include all the...
Yes, yes, we can make it so. We can reference this
Make it.
letter in our conditions.
Right, so I would say that we reference the letter, and
Yes,
it's, your responses, which basically indicate that these are things you intend to carry out and put on the drawings or whatever the case might be.
right, yep,
Does that make sense?
yes.
Absolutely, I'm only on number 5, but most of these
He's back
things,
to your letter.
what's that, I'm sorry?
He was back to your letter.
Oh, I'm
The
sorry.
date was one
Oh,
day
not
off.
that letter.
I'm
I'm
I know, that's
talking
why we're
about
going
the
the date.
letter of our discussion, the letter we're talking about from, your letter from
Your
August
letter.
28th. That's
Yeah,
what
no,
I'm talking about.
that's perfectly fine.
Right.
We think that we made the revisions and we're pointing out where they are, if they're on the plan set or in general, what the response is.
Mr. Wetzel?
And maybe I misunderstood, in your approval, are you going to refer to the letter, or are you going to reiterate those items in the approval?
I was going to include the letter as part of the...
Because I'll tell you what we go through in the DPW engineering, when we go to approve a street, we get the subdivision approval, and it's not complete. So we have the letter from the planning board that says this is approved, and then we find out, well, for instance, on one of the projects tonight, I said, well, you didn't put the streetlights in, and he says, well, the planning board waived that. I made record of that.
Yeah, we didn't read that.
That wasn't your planning
Another
board.
topic.
Again, these are projects
He's talking about-
5, 6.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You got
Yes,
one
yes,
that
yes.
was
Gotcha,
approved in
gotcha.
2004 coming up tonight, so, so I have to do some history to find out what was actually required and approved on this, and so if everything's in a concise document, it's easy for me to do that rather than have to find 5 different letters. that-
Right, well, the condition, what I'm getting at is the conditions of approval that we're going to write up eventually would include if there's
Yes.
anything here that's still...
I think what I should do is reference the letter, but also pull out of the letter specific technical points that we want to have as conditions.
Okay.
So, yes. And while Mr. Wetzel is here too, one of the outstanding issues that we probably won't resolve tonight, since we're going to continue this, we're not going to approve it tonight, but the issue of bonding or surety for the stormwater facilities has not been, I think, concluded.
Well, can we go back to the
Yes.
two previous items which were brought up, and that is the homeowners association
Yes.
versus conservation?
Right, that,
The ownership of the open land and the maintenance of the BMPs. I think
I am deeply
those are the two
concerned about
issues that
that.
we're talking
right,
about.
yes.
There was one other, go ahead, John.
And I think the one other, so we look at number 3 on page 3, BSC had made a recommendation that we consider the idea of multiple smaller stormwater management BMPs rather than what's planned. And I wanted just to discuss that because in the interim, we've removed that attenuating, I think it's the right word, attenuation basin, and we've improved it. And I just, my gut is, it's looking good as is, but I wanted to know what Mark, the superintendent, thought, and what my colleagues thought. Do we really have to visit that, or are we content
We're
that
done.
we got a good plan?
Number 3 is done, as far as I'm concerned.
So we're done with that. We're good with this, right? We're not going to go to these individual. All right, I just want to be clear because
discussed
it
it.
came up here. All right, good.
I think their response is complete, and we
So,
went through it.
To give you some context, Jonathan.
sure.
The GPR presented a plan that works. ESC said there's other ways to do this.
Yeah.
But we have a working plan.
Right.
Right.
I think we have a consensus.
Good, I'm with you, I just wanted to be sure, because it came up, and then, as the chair mentioned, the big thing that stood out for me is on page 4, under number 6, and it was repeated under another document, is the issue that the BMPs are gonna be maintained by the town? It's gonna be turned over to the town for maintenance?
That's the clarification that we need to determine.
We need to, that needs to be discussed.
So that's something we need to discuss, because, and I think there's, for clarification, you know, we all want you, the owner's gonna want the town to take over the road, but then I think where I'm having a little problem is, okay, you got a catch basin in the road, but it's piped to a, you know, another basin that's in the back. Are we talking about just the town taking over the control of the BMPs that are within the right-of-way that the town approves? And the homeowners association or some organization beyond the town would take whatever pond or detention
So,
basin or whatever it is.
I'll give you my full spiel and Mark will jump in. So similar to the 7 or 8 roads that you have later on in the agenda to recommend to be accepted, a number of those were done under the same regulations of the subdivision regulations that you have now, requiring drainage to support the right-of-way. Those areas were done in accordance with the town drainage or the town requirements, the same as the road. So from a developer's standpoint, if we're following the town's regulations, they have to have a thought process of why wouldn't they be accepted? They're needed to support the roadway itself. Now, I've had a brief conversation with the town engineer. Mark was in the meeting, actually today, unfortunately, we waited till the last minute. That in a case where I believe he brought up Pingery Hill, which is adjacent, a homeowners association does maintain the out of right-of-way
Well,
BMPs.
that's the language of the agreement.
Well,
That's
Supposed to me.
I like how he laughed at that, because that actually suits my argument. So talking with that, the intention of the DPW is if the road was accepted, they wouldn't want homeowners associations cracking open the catch basins, the manholes, to maintain them. They would assume responsibility of those structures. It's really the out of right-of-way areas that they would rely towards the homeowners association. The homeowners association or some other entity is, as Mark rightly said, it's someone that buys a piece of property, decides to get an interest in local government, becomes president of a homeowners association. It's someone that isn't a professional public works manager, CR, or anything else like that. They can certainly call a landscape company to say, I need that mowed, if they can. There's ways to do things, just as we talked about the drainage. You know, we could do multiple things throughout the site, we could do one thing. There's different ways to handle it. In your regulations right now,
I'm gonna look at that right now.
yeah, there's no requirement as far as what is attached to the right-of-way, who assumes responsibility of said maintenance, things like that. So it's certainly a question, it's a comment, it's a concern. You know, we're designing and proposing an application under, you know, certain thoughts, beliefs, and the regulations. I understand that the town somewhat disagrees with some of those. That's why you're looking at revising your regulations later on tonight. So again, just to kind of reiterate, and as Mark kind of chuckled, last meeting I mentioned just myself working in town. I think of 3 subdivisions, one where this recommendation was made by Mr. Wetzel. The planning board at the time said, similar to what I'm saying of, you know, we work with the assumption that that's needed for the road. There's no requirement in the regulations, and he ignored the requirement when he approved the subdivision. So that is completely silent in that subdivision. The former planning board chair.
Oh, okay.
There's another subdivision, I believe that this was brought up. It was intended to be in the decision. We'll see what happens when the road gets accepted, whether or not any entity or something like that has actually been set up. So I understand the lack of manpower, the cost of the maintenance. You know, this is 19 new houses. It increases potentially, hopefully, your operating budget. But I understand his questions, his concerns, and his comments. We're willing, we understand the different options available. Right now, we're proposing the town take the road as well as the subdivision.
As well as
Stormwater, I'm sorry.
the whole,
So you say not just the right-of-way stormwater, you're saying the whole kit and caboodle, also out-of-right-of-way stormwater management?
Correct, they would be
All of it.
responsible. They would be responsible for the basins and the soil and the floor bed. Yep.
Can we, Chair, can we ask for Mark's opinion on that?
we will, yeah, in a second. Was there a section in the regulation that talked to, first of all, I guess the applicant has to precisely present that to us in some fashion that, here's the section here. As to the open space, it says ownership of open space. So you've looked at this clearly and you reviewed it.
Yeah. So again, that's the open space parcel itself.
Right.
That's not the acceptance of the drainage.
Stormwater
The stormwater systems, correct.
Okay, so when we
That
talk
would be
about
in
the
the subdivision regulations.
When we talk about the stormwater systems, we're gonna talk about all the components of the stormwater systems, meaning everything that's in the street and piping from the street to the retention basin, whatever the attenuation, whatever it might be. Infiltration, and so forth. So your recommendation, as the applicant's representative, is going to be that the town of Ayer take on that responsibility.
That is the way that we have drafted our operation and maintenance manual that has been submitted on how those features be maintained.
Okay, and that's
the
gonna happen
schedule.
upon the completion of the project and acceptance of the road.
Correct, acceptance of the road. Until that time, it's the developer's responsibility.
Okay, so that's where we're gonna have to make a clear description of the sequence, I presume. So there's no misunderstanding that during construction and during, well, it could be a year, it could be 5 years. I don't
No,
know,
that's
whatever
pretty standard
number of years.
operating. That's standard operating procedure.
15 years.
Could be
Yeah.
part of it's hard. And then we can subsequently have the discussion with the DPW as to whether that's an acceptable solution. But the solution won't present itself until we're at the point of accepting the road as a, that's,
Is that true? No, we have to,
okay,
You have to decide that now,
okay, all right.
because if you're going to do it as part of a
Well,
homeowner's,
I worded it wrong, sorry. The implementation of the solution won't be until we accept the road. In the meantime, we want to know what the ultimate
right?
decision is going to be, whether the town is willing to do that or not. And
If you're gonna set up a homeowners association, that has to be decided now, because that becomes part of the deed.
right,
Correct.
that's where I'm.
So there's actually two overlapping things that I just want to make sure that we're all clear on. There's the open space parcel that's 55% of the property through the OSRD regulations. And there's two things that happen on that parcel. One, a conservation restriction is placed. That's a document that says that this land can't be developed, you can't build houses. It's a very,
Right,
you'll actually eventually see a plan that's actually called a conservation restriction plan. There's a legal document that goes along with that. That CR, as it's referred to, has to be held by someone. That's actually the regulation that you were talking about. That has to be held by the town, a nonprofit that's capable, or a homeowners association. So that's the first component. The second component is actually ownership of said land. Okay, so the whole private person could own that property, and the town could hold the CR on top of it. It doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. The town could also own that land as well. The town could accept it for its inhabitants and basically become conservation land in itself. There's different options available on the OSRD.
the homeowners association could own the land as well.
Correct. And actually, if you flip the page over in your regulation, it actually has a whole page about how that owners association has to be set up, the requirements, the sureties, all that happy stuff. But we don't have to go down that road if the town's going to take the open space parcel. Fair enough? So that has to be done for the open space. Mark and I are talking about the ongoing maintenance of the stormwater facilities. So the town could still own that piece of property. They could still hold a CR on that. And then the question becomes, if the town owns it and the town manages the conservation restriction, well, then the town could also maintain those stormwater features on that same land. That's essentially why everything is designed the way that it is.
In order for us to get to a conclusion on this topic, do we need a recommendation from the owner or the applicant and DPW to get, because we need to vote on something ultimately.
Correct.
We need to know how those pieces gonna fit together.
Yeah.
Well, from what I heard, the town is not interested in the open space.
So that's actually the next part.
Yeah.
I've also heard that. There has been no official statement.
Okay.
As far as we know, a year and a half into this process.
So you're gonna have to give us a definitive letter of some sort and say, this is how we'd like to proceed. This is
Our
what we want.
applications and ONs have all pointed and drafted towards that.
Okay. I know using the term in there, town of Ayer, but it's, you know, I think you need to run it by Conservation Commission, and they're the ones that ultimately decide, I think, where they
will be.
decide.
And
you know.
the conservation administrator told me that, it's her sense that they representing the town, do not want to be holding the open space. They felt it was isolated, it's not.
So we're gonna need something in writing from the
Right.
conservation agent representing
Yes.
the board to this
Right.
board to conclude that.
Yes.
And then you guys knowing that, I guess would then come in and say, well, since the town's not gonna accept it, we intend to present it in this way. We're gonna give it to the trustees of reservations, and we're gonna do this one or that one. Or
So
something.
could we hear from Mr. Wetzel,
Sure.
based on his,
But he's basically in the EMP
Stormwater.
stormwater
Yeah.
area. I'm
Well, right
talking
now-
about
I
the
don't
open
care about
space
other
area.
stuff.
well, again, just so that we're aware, right now there is no homeowners association proposed. There is no homeowners association. This is all private land.
Okay.
And as the developer sells off the lots, he's selling that lot. And
Okay.
he's responsible for the road still until it's accepted. So if there's a mechanism that a homeowners association has to be created, it may cause some conversations about who does what when. So that's why I'm trying to have Mr. Wetzel have his 2 cents in, if that's all right with the chairman.
Well, he's talking about, are we moving from open space ownership over to the BMPs or how?
They're all relatively
Well, they're kind of
related.
connected, but,
They are connected.
so on one side of the coin, can we resolve that the,
Right, I don't know if we'll be able to resolve the total ownership of the open space tonight, because we do
Not
need
tonight,
something
I'm just
officially
saying-
from the Conservation
right, I'm not
Commission.
doing it tonight, I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
yeah.
can we, if you feel that's what's gonna happen, we should get something to the applicant so they know that.
Right, yes,
So there's no misunderstanding, we're not just talking about it as being speculation,
Correct.
but it's a
Yeah.
fact. Then
yeah,
Mark and the applicant to determine if the developer is responsible. Without a homeowners association, I'm sure the developer can be responsible for whatever needs to be done, If that's
That's ultimately the planning board's
Right.
decision.
comments.
So, and I'll back up a little bit since I know a lot of you people are new. Back in, I want to say 2011, I started here in 2012, town meeting voted to form a stormwater utility.
They voted or was proposed?
No, they voted to form a stormwater utility. So I spent the next 3 years coming up with how were we going to implement that with rules and regulations and fee structures and fee ordinances, and had public meetings. And one of the ideas within that would be we're collecting money from all of the properties in town and generating revenue so that we can maintain our stormwater, maintain and improve our stormwater facilities and protect our water quality in town. So I got to the point where everyone more or less agreed on what we were proposing to do. I put a rate structure together, and the Board of Selectmen voted against the stormwater utility. So we still had formed the utility, but now we didn't have a funding source. So Department of Revenue said, well, you can't have an enterprise utility without a funding source, so we dissolved the utility. I think there's been a change somewhat in the board and in the town and in the need for that type of revenue stream to manage our stormwater. Right now, you know, we've got a lot of stormwater infrastructure, we've got a lot of regulatory requirements. Our town engineer and our engineering intern are out all day sampling in the ponds to determine impacts of stormwater quality. We vote hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for storm drain and outfall improvements. So anyway, if we had that in place, then there would be no problem for us generating revenue to take care of these types of facilities throughout the town.
Right.
Right now, we have basically 3 different ways we maintain the storm. Well, the DPW maintains all of the catch basins and stormwater collection utility and drains and culverts within the public accepted rights of way. In the private developments and subdivisions, there's basically 3 different ways we've done this. One is the town takes over the whole stormwater system for that project and we maintain it. The other is they set up a homeowners association, generally like in Pingree Hill. The town maintains all the catch basins and drainage piping, and the homeowners association is responsible for maintaining the retention basins and siltation forebays, and they all pay to, and I'm not sure how it gets collected, what the mechanism is, but I'll tell you right now, nothing gets maintained unless I tell him, you need to maintain it, you need to give me a report that shows that it's gonna get done, and they hem and haw, and sometimes they do it and sometimes they don't. And then the third way is it's just a completely private system, so we wouldn't accept the street, we wouldn't accept any of the stormwater, they'd be responsible for all of that. But ultimately, the town's responsible for the quality and quantity of stormwater going into our water body. So it's to our advantage to make sure that these get maintained. If we had additional staff, then we would set up a program that would say, okay, here are all the privately owned or homeowner-owned systems in town, and have a program where we require them to maintain them based on their stormwater maintenance plan and provide reports to us, and then we make sure they get done, and either they sample or we sample and make sure that everything's working properly. As part of the street acceptance project that I have tonight to present, there's a number of these basins up in Pingree Hill that are under a homeowners association, and I can tell how many times they've been cleaned since they were built. 0. And I talk to the developer every day about different things, and he keeps saying, well, I thought you were gonna do it for me and charge me.
You don't have you can't do
I
it.
don't have the
No.
manpower, I don't have the permission, it's not my property. I don't have the funding to hire a contractor to do it, and we just don't have the manpower to administer that type of a thing. But ultimately, if we had a stormwater utility, we could administer something like that, because we would now be able to hire someone to have a revenue stream to do that, and either charge the homeowners association or put it in the fee. So this is a decision that's bigger than me to make on how we do this, but I think probably from my history and experience, I would say the best way to do something like this project here is to say, the town's gonna take over all of the stormwater system, but we know there's a certain cost unique to this project, and we'll require the developer to put X amount of money for 5 years, 10 years of maintenance in an account that the DPW can then use to maintain that property.
And this would be upon the acceptance of the
Upon acceptance. So they accept it right up to, or they maintain it right up to acceptance, and you'll see in my punch list for all of the projects there that I require them to clear and clean out all their basins.
Sure.
This was
So Mark, I just want to be sure I'm clear that I understand what you just said. From listening here, it sounds like you're saying we're kind of like a rock and a hard place here. We accept that responsibility for stormwater management. The truth is, we don't have the resources and the money to fulfill it. On the other hand, if we push it to homeowners association, we can be pretty confident they're not going to do it either. They're not going to do it. So you represent a third way, which is that we accept responsibility, but we obligate the developer to set up a fund that we can draw upon for a given number of years. Am I understanding correctly? Okay, thank you.
And that's done quite often if, for instance, this project required a sewer pumping station. And the town's like, well, we already have 19 sewer pumping stations. We don't want 20 to maintain, but, you know, we obviously want a sewer collection system. So a lot of towns require the developers to pay a maintenance fee for a pumping station for a certain period of time.
I think what's important about this is the fact that this is the first OSRD under the subdivision regulations. There's not going to be another parcel of land in there that doesn't have the same issues over and over again. So it's very important that we look at these subjects or topics, whatever they might be, or complications, let's call them, and resolve them. And come up with a solution that we can then just keep using that makes sense over and over again.
And I'll give you, we've got 3 subdivisions for street acceptance tonight. The first one, Pingree Hill, does have the HOA. As I mentioned, they don't do anything unless I force them to do it. And even then, it's a big effort. Nashua Street Extension is going to become a town responsibility. There's the subdivision approval's silent on that. The third one, Norwood Ave, Elizabeth Estates, it does require a HOA. He's never set it up. He's never collected a penny. So if we go forward with that, then now we say, okay, how are you going to maintain this HOA? I don't even know in Pingree. I know the developer, so I talked to him, but I don't know who's in the HOA, how they collect them.
I think it's evident.
That's it.
I think it's evident
He
that
does not
the applicant has
just
told us
go
they're not
to
going
the
to have an HOA. So we know that's not going to.
Right now, we are not proposing one. As you mentioned earlier in the earlier applications, things can certainly change.
Okay.
The last option is certainly relatively palatable, that Mark.
Option C.
Option C, as we're going to refer to it.
All right.
So can we draft up, can you come to a consensus between the engineer and yourself that it's like $2,500 a year or $2,000 a year for typical maintenance of a project of that size?
That's already provided in the ORM.
I'm sorry, but I
That's
don't believe it. I feel like I am involved.
Well, I don't know if do you have a cost in there, or?
Yeah, $1,250 per
Right here on page.
That's way too low. Let's make it a reasonable number.
Well, I mean, we did it for the air solar too. We came up with costs based on the manpower that we felt was required to maintain that.
Okay, so between the applicant and yourself,
Look at that, yeah.
come up with a number, and my suggestion is that it would be funded for 10 years, not 5 years. And then we know pretty much, we feel, have a comfort level that we've taken it through the approval, through the construction, and 10 years into, no?
Again, that's just the last part, sorry. Anything that Mark talked about would only be after acceptance. So
Exactly, it's after acceptance, right. But what I'm saying is, as a board, we would feel comfortable, we've looked at the construction process, we've looked at what goes on through that, and after it's accepted by the town, we'll feel comfortable the town is protected and got some funds set aside.
I guess the 5 to the 10-year difference, I guess, would be related to the annual cost that is agreed upon. The idea is that the taxpayers of that area generate a
They
little bit
pay
of
for the whole
it.
town, though, all taxpayers pay for it.
I understand, but the initial boost of that time period is for the new development's tax base to help the budget along, so that when the 5 years or the 10 years is up.
Right, well, that's just, we can talk about that, but that's my second suggestion, so we can move on. So if that's acceptable to you guys to work something out on a budget basis, then that'll make it easier for you on the homeowner's side, and we'll have some kind of a conclusion on this piece, then we'll only be left with the open space piece.
No, again, that result doesn't require a homeowners association.
I
It just
understand.
requires a check.
That's
Right.
correct.
Or
That's
a
what we're
bank
talking
account
about.
for all that.
And in the
Okay.
scope of things, it's
Fair
gonna be a
enough.
tiny check, in the-
100%. We're still at the end result of the town taking
It may
everything
not
as
cover,
we're proposing.
engineering for the next 2 weeks, but,
Not even the peer review.
any other comments about that thought from anyone else?
I mean, that seems the most
Mark?
reasonable.
Yeah, no, that sounds Option C.
Okay.
Well, we call it option C. I think we understand what it is.
Yes.
I'm gonna label this.
So by the next meeting, do you guys want to have that, a letter or something resolving that in the next couple of weeks? Or is that too soon? Or how do you want to approach it?
So there's kind of some extra steps that happen in this process. You know, the plans will certainly get endorsed. That can be a condition that is resolved prior to endorsement of the plan set, which is required before any construction happens. So it somewhat breaks up the process. If you approved it with contingent, these conditions being met prior to endorsing of the plan, that kind of leads us to the end result. It's always setting up legal documents is always
It's going to take more time than
a perilous step when we're trying to close meetings and continue meetings and things like that. So as the framework is generally required and set up, that's usually the grounds for approval, and then completion and execution prior to the next step.
Mark, you want to take a shot at what it will take to get us to a vote? And first of all, does anyone else have any more comments on it?
Just one comment. So in this Plan C, there's two elements to it, if I understand. One is a bank account, so the DPW can take this over for N
Right.
years. But the second is a condition on the builder or owner to maintain those features until it's accepted.
Right, yeah.
Right, and that
That'll
would
be in our conditions
Yes.
of the approval.
Okay.
Right.
So we'll spell that out in the conditions and attach the agreement, whatever the agreement may be, and the conditions are approved. But I think it's important now for us to think about the applicant and the time frame that is taken here. And if we have any other questions on the drawings or the answers or responses, or the public that has any more questions, we'll go to that in a second. I'd like to kind of give them a hint as to how long it will take us to get to a vote of some
Right,
sort,
yeah.
and then writing up the conditions of approval.
Yeah,
and so
I know,
forth.
ideally, the Conservation Commission would have met one time before we meet on the 24th, but they don't have a quorum for their meeting next week, so they're not able to meet until the 26th, which is 2 days after we meet, so, you know, so I'm not sure if Conservation Commission will have any hard recommendations for the planning board regarding this plan or not, but, you know, that's...
But we need to continue requesting extensions.
Right, I know, the extension right now goes till the 26th of
Okay, Mr.
September.
Goldsmith then.
Right,
If
yes.
I may just make a comment, one of the things that we're looking for is for the planning board to make the decision. I think the Conservation Commission has fed a good deal of input to the planning board at this point, and the peer review was really the crux of a lot of it that we've answered. So our request would be that we don't hold up a planning board approval waiting for a Conservation Commission approval at this stage of the game. It's always smart to do that in the beginning of a project when you don't know where things are going to shake out.
It does bring me to one thought, though, that the peer reviewer could not be here tonight.
Right.
So we actually need to conclude with her.
Yes.
I mean, our hope is that at the next meeting you'd be able to
That would be sensible.
take a vote on this.
Does that make any other comments? Mr. Wetzel?
And one thing, I don't know if this has come up, but I was talking with the project developer today. He asked me about street lighting. And whether, because as you know, as one of the other engineers said that I told him we didn't need street lights, and I was like, it wasn't me.
They show you showing street lighting,
Because,
showing trees and.
Because I think we do need to have some street lights, especially on cul-de-sacs in the middle of the woods. What the developer proposed was if he could put a post top light at each driveway that would be controlled by the owner of that driveway, and then have one street light at the end of at the cul-de-sac where the mail station is. And I thought that sounded acceptable. So if the residents want light, they turn the light on. It would be on a photo cell, so that it would, go on during the day, at night, off during the day. But if the neighbors wanted a dark sky, it would be acceptable. So I didn't see any issues with that proposal.
Okay, that was a proposal that GPR brought to you? I didn't, he's shaking his head. Or are you talking about someone
That
else?
was the developer, the owner.
The owner, our client, had an offline conversation earlier today.
Okay, but that note is not reflected
On
anywhere,
the
we just heard
plans.
about this now,
Correct.
basically.
Right.
You have a
He
com-
asked me if that would be acceptable, and I thought it was acceptable. I don't know where that is in your approval process, but
So, right now, the plans reflect the request for streetlights, which again aren't part of the subdivision rules and regs, so as I know, you have an agenda item coming up. It's kind of standard operating procedure to request those be added. Having them in the regulations, maybe that'll save Mark some time from asking that to be added. We are showing lights throughout the development.
But the
whereas-
quantity is limited, what's it, 4?
It's 4 or 5, yeah. Where, you know, the developer, obviously, if it's at each driveway, that'd be acceptable, that would be a condition of approval.
Does the board have any comment on that?
I would comment that because they're sidewalks and it's an open space that public has access to, that it would seem that we should make a recommendation to light it continuously.
Right.
So the lights are only within the right-of-way of the pavement.
Right. The sidewalks, right.
So Nathan's comment is that in the event that people don't turn on their little post lights and someone wants to take a walk down the street, it's gonna be quite a lot of dark spots, but if it were lit with the street lighting, it would be a safety factor at night. And
You know, if you get people going between homes, neighbors visiting each other.
Yeah. Jonathan, anything?
I think Nathan's idea is spot on.
I guess we'd stick with the way the plan is drawn at this point in time, based on that. And unless we got something, you know, formally in writing to consider it. If it was just a phone call, or I don't know. So if you get something formally from the developer, we'll have to reconsider it, I guess.
I guess my only question would be, what's the intent of lighting the access way, only the entrance to the open space? Are you trying to encourage people to use the open space at night?
No, I wasn't talking about that. We're talking about this, there's a set of streetlights down the street now that light the street and the sidewalk now on the drawings. And that's it.
Right.
There's nothing, I'm not sure what the comment about the open space.
No.
It was no connection to the open
Oh,
space.
okay, I thought he was
Just-
saying because
It
it's
was a misunderstanding.
access to the open space.
No, it was a misunderstanding.
It's just in anticipation that people will walk down the street. I think that's what you're getting at.
And the light shown on the drawing, we're talking about a height that's compatible with typical street lighting, whatever the height is. It might be a little lower in a small subdivision like this than
20 feet or so.
20 feet or so.
And I think the reason that the owner was asking for this modification is because in general, people that live in subdivisions are not fans of streetlights.
Right.
Because they light up their front yard, they light up their windows in their houses, and it's not maintaining a dark sky type of situation where you're limiting the amount of light pollution that's going off. You've got a street light up in the air and it's broadcasting all across the whole area and lighting up the whole.
It's a little different now. The technology is quite different
It's
than
a
what you
little
just
different, but it's
described.
still, but that's still kind of where you're at. is
There's
you're
LED
lighting up
controls, and they can shut them
this
off at
reflective
night,
surface.
time them, and they can down them. There's so much technology now that's different than what you described. So
Yeah.
my inkling is that we stick with the way that the light. The other concern that I would have is that because of there's entrances off the street to these common driveways, there's a potential that any street lighting would help light that little intersection to the common drive street. So I don't think we have to change that. Anything else, Mark? So do we need to make a motion to
I would say
ask for
we-
another extension, or?
I think we can continue the hearing to the 24th, and I will do my best to write up, work with Mark and work with Katie and
Right.
then look at everything to come up with a comprehensive list of conditions of approval, discuss with conservation. And if it looks like there's some insurmountable barrier to us acting on the 24th, I will know within a few days and we can discuss things. But I will aim to have the planning board ready to act on the plan on the 24th.
There was one tiny insurmountable barrier that came up at the very beginning by DPW, and the applicant indicated they were not going to do it, and that was a catch basin on Route 2A. So have we eased our concern about that?
yeah, if that's graded properly, then there won't be any runoff coming off the road.
Okay, so that was hanging out there.
It was clarified on the drawing how that was graded. There's a high point there.
So at this point in time, does DPW have any further comments? I mean, I feel that it's It's been a pretty comprehensive set of hearings, and the applicant has worked with us. We've had a consultant come in, and I'm hoping that we can be ready to
Yeah, I'm hoping that
make
too.
a vote in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, I think it's, that would be good.
So just to reiterate, just reading through Katie's letter dated today, that actually seems like she's accepting our revisions. Could we have that done via email or reiteration of letter rather than her attendance here?
You know,
I will talk to her and see what she,
Well, that's the board's. She's agreeing with our comments.
you own the attendance in the proposal. She owns us 2 meetings.
Well, she budgeted 2 meetings. She doesn't have to provide them, and just my.
If you don't require that, she doesn't have to come, she doesn't
Yeah.
spend that amount
It's
of
a
money.
suggestion. Okay.
Saves our client money.
Yeah, okay.
yeah, I'll talk to her and see, what she.
Again, reading the letter, just briefly, it says that,
Okay.
we've addressed this comment, we've removed this, yesterday we removed that. The last remaining item is really the acceptance of the DPW, so for her to drive 2 hours, sit here for 2.5, talk for an hour, and then drive another home, my client's done.
Yeah, I'll see if, if she is adamant that she needs to be here, that's one thing, but if she feels she can do this with correspondence, we'll do it that way.
Anyone else have a thought on that? Nathan? No? John?
No, thanks.
Okay, so thank you very much, and we'll.
We should make a
accept the
motion to continue to the 24th.
Accept the
right?
motion.
Do we have this, anything with 9/6?
No, that's within.
It's within this, I just want to be sure. Okay, great.
Yeah, and then part of the response was actually, as Mark requested about a month ago, my narrative, he asked that we just point out on the plan or kind of reiterate or restate that narrative in writing.
I just want to be sure we're covered.
Yeah.
Right.
So do you need a motion for continuance of the public hearing until?
Yeah, I think.
I make a motion to continue the hearing regarding the 5456 Littleton Road project for the next Ayer Planning Board meeting on September 24th. Second.
Then moved and seconded that we continue the hearing in the next planning board meeting. Any more further discussion? Having none, we'll put it to a vote.
Aye.
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 Quick question, and I don't know if it's too early to ask this, or if really anybody in the room can answer it. With this project going on and the Home Scout project on Shaker Road, where their dog leg for utilities was going to come out almost across from where this one is, understandably, you're going to have various utilities come out. 2A Littleton Road will be dug up. Just wondering if there might be any thought of whichever one goes first, maybe they open up and make the connection for the one on the other side to minimize disruption, and B, do we know if after that's done, Mass DOT is going to come out and, because it's taken them forever to fix where they cut into 2A to get the houses on the front side of Mill Pond done. They just patched and then won't until a few weeks
Well,
ago.
this is where it'll fall off to Mass DOT and our DPW. And I leave it up to Mr. Wetzel and the Mass DOT to coordinate that effort and guarantee that the job is done right.
Easier said than done with Mass DOT.
And the applicant, of course, who has to
Right.
coordinate all of it.
But since it's a state highway, Mass DOT issues the road opening permit. We issue the water and sewer permit, connection permits. But we can certainly encourage the cooperation, and I can also talk with the permitting engineer at the state and see if they can coordinate both the installation and the restoration.
Did we put any?
But for instance, the Mill Pond trenches down there, they weren't doing anything until I called the gas company and then called Mass DOT. So Mass DOT doesn't really follow up on their stuff until I complain to them. So we'll try to coordinate that, because that's a good suggestion. There's some other patches up there that maybe require some sort of a mill and overlay.
Do we have any requirement in town of that involves infrared patching, when we do those kinds of things?
We do, but not but not on that road. It's not that road.
Even though it's not in our jurisdiction, can we write a condition that any off-site work, we can't? You tell me what I can and cannot do.
No, it's fast dock. We can't dictate anything on their roads.
Okay, so we can't even write a condition to that effect, even though it might be wrong. Okay, I'll tell you from there, so.
I mean, you can write it, but their permit's gonna supersede anything.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see.
And now the street acceptances.
The next item on the agenda is going to be a discussion, a recommendation of the Board of Selectmen by a road acceptance by Mr. Wetzel.
What we have here.
Actually, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess. All right, so we're back in session, and we're going to the next item on the agenda. And we're taking it out of order for one step to allow Mr. Wetzel to discuss with us road acceptance layout requirements.
Right. So, for fall town meeting, we have, developers that have asked for road acceptance. We generally try to do these at fall town meeting. It gets a little cumbersome at the spring town meeting because we have a lot of other things going on. And one of these, so the first one is Norwood Ave in the Elizabeth Estates subdivision. There's a short section of Norwood Ave that is an existing town road. I think it's about 275 feet, I think 235 feet off Washington Street. It was existing, and then the Norwood Ave was continued through to Highland as part of this subdivision, and that's the section that he's asking for street acceptance. The Board of Selectmen at their September 3rd meeting voted to their intention to lay out the street. So the next process is the planning board reviews the information and then makes a recommendation for the selectmen, who then vote to lay out the street. And then there's a public notification, and then we have a vote at town, final vote at town meeting. There's a few things left on the punch list that I talked to the developer about again. Told him that if these things weren't done sometime between now and town meeting, then that article would be pulled from the town meeting.
So do you want to just, for clarity, explain the word layout to us, you know?
That's a legal term for accepting a street. So basically, they vote to lay out the street, which means based on the meets and bounds. And I haven't got he shows the meets and bounds on here. But you'll see on some of the other subdivision streets, we have a separate meets and bounds plan, but it shows the surveying data of what the road geometry is, as well as the constructed data on there. So that's the term for accepting a street, is to lay out the street.
Okay. I just thought.
Thank you. Yeah,
I wanted to make sure we all understood what that meant. Okay, so this came up a year ago. The planning board a year ago, just for information, did not vote on this, to approve this, and there might have been some misunderstanding. So the DPW feels comfortable that the punch list that you've got is complete, and that.
But do you feel comfortable that it's complete, the punch list? Or
No, it's not.
I
The list
feel
is only
comfortable
complete, not the work is complete.
I feel comfortable, yes, so the process, I feel, is moving forward. There are some items on here that he needs to address. He has cleaned out all the stormwater catch basins. As I mentioned, this one does have an HOA in the deeds, but no one has collected any money on how they're going to to do that, so, so that may be a condition of his acceptance is, which is basically, he needs to do it legally anyways, he has it formed, he just has to figure out how he's gonna collect money and pay for it.
Did you, the board want to look at the back of that page? That's what it's,
That's the punch list.
oh, that's the punch list. Based on that, the DPW was clearly saving paper by printing on both sides of the page. So,
I was printing stuff from 4:30 to 6:30 tonight, so.
believe it.
So what I'm confused about though is that if we say give approval, you still have the power to say you haven't met this by time meeting and withdraw it?
Well, there's a couple steps, so, and let me see if I get these straight. So the next step after this. That's not really I can find that. I don't have it right here.
Okay, so I got it.
But anyways, so there's a public, the selectmen will vote to, so once the planning board votes to recommend to the selectmen that they lay out the street, then the selectmen vote to lay out the street. There is a public notification, I think it's prior to the selectmen's voting on it, and then there's a certain period of time before we can
Yeah.
approve it at town meeting.
Your letter says that following the required notifications, the board of selectmen will hold a public hearing.
Yes.
So the public hearing will have to be advertised, and the public will have a chance to come in and make comments as well. They take it.
And I notice if the above items are not completed prior to annual town meeting, I'll make a final recommendation at the
Right.
town meeting itself and say to the public, you could say either yes, it's completed to my satisfaction, or it's not complete to their satisfaction, I recommend that we don't. You still retain that power.
Yes.
Okay, good.
And most of these things, the install the streetlights, he's been dealing with National Grid, and I've been, as we get closer to this time, I've been working with him in National Grid, so that is supposedly scheduled for either this Friday or next Monday. I don't know, it says install permanent property bounds. I'm not sure if they're installed, I couldn't find any, but sometimes people plant grass over them, and so he's having his surveyor do that. If not, they'll put those in. Like I said, minor corrections to the record drawings, we just reviewed them and had some comments.
The trap hoods are pretty important though, because they help to separate the oils from the water, right? I mean, because those are really important.
And you'll see none of the developers put those in. So
They don't put them in.
they don't, well, they don't. They hope we don't look in the catch basin.
Well,
It's kind of the last thing you do.
That's gonna be like the first thing you should do.
I mean,
Oh, yeah,
right there, I
right.
mean, that trap,
Yeah.
that's a really important, I mean, the other things may be aesthetic or whatever, but that's
They're
actually about
important,
putting,
yeah.
oil in the water. I
Yeah.
mean, that's
They're
significant.
important. They're a pain in the neck to put in.
Yeah, really.
And to work around in the catch basins and stuff when they're in there, but, so it's usually the last thing they do, and that's why they kind of forget about them.
Yeah.
But like I said, every street we've accepted on a new subdivision, they're like, oh, we really have to put those in?
Yeah, we do.
So, is anyone else familiar with this location or walked it? I mean, I happen to live nearby, so I walked today.
One of the things too about this is, this project started well before I started in town. And it takes a long time for the contractor to build the street, to build the houses. We had the downturn in the economy and the housing market. And so, some of the first things they do, like pave the road, the pavement's not, the pavement index isn't 100 anymore, it's probably 80.
Right.
So,
Because it's been a while.
it's been a while. So it gets to the point where I don't want to make them repave the road, but there are some areas that need a little bit of touch up.
Well, I went down, my own comment, I went down there today, I've been down there many times, but today I went down there in particular looking for, light pole bases for the street lights.
Right.
So I found one, and I.
Yeah, I found them when I was.
Okay, so you feel that the bases are all in
Yeah,
place?
yeah. The wires are all pulled, they're ready to
Okay,
go.
all right.
Oh, okay, good. All right, that's
Yeah,
encouraging.
they just need, Grid has to come in and set the poles and put the lights up.
Now, this is the same situation though for you, that the lighting that's installed would be, are you asking for it to be compliant with the
It's
control?
supposed to be compatible with what we have.
Okay,
The issue is that he paid for this a long time ago with National Grid, before when Grid owned the lights.
got it, okay. Right.
And so when he started revising it, I said, well, here's our standard now, see if you can get this
Okay.
stuff. But we may have to buy the controllers or something like
Right,
that.
but then, in all probability, National Grid's gonna put in the current fixtures that are compatible, you're happy with that.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any comments? Jonathan?
No, I've said enough.
Really?
Thank you.
No?
Nathan? No?
No.
So, we're looking for a vote to send it back to the selectmen, I'm getting.
To recommend that the
Find out.
selectmen vote to lay out Norwood Ave, Elizabeth Estate.
And that's good with you? That's,
Yep.
okay, good. That's what I want to make sure. I know I'm being overly cautious. I just
There's
wanna make sure.
one of the things with street acceptance that, there are some advantages to the town. One is that our Chapter 90 paving money is based on how many miles of road we have. So once we go through acceptance of these streets, then we submit that to Mass DOT, and we get some more money. It's not a huge amount, but, and then the other thing is, and we deal with this a lot with private streets, is that if it doesn't get accepted and the developer's long gone, we'll still pave the roads, but we don't typically maintain the roads. So I'll give you an example. Madigan Lane is not an accepted street. So if I want to repave that road, technically it's against the law for me to do that,
Right,
because it's a private road.
it's not yours.
Number two is, Mass DOT won't let me use Chapter 90 money to do any work on private roads. So, so you've got these people that are taxpayers that have been paying taxes. Madigan Lane's a good example. How long has that been there?
19 years.
And they've been paying taxes, and, you know, we do a little bit, but when they need some serious road work done, they're gonna be out of luck.
Right, well, that's the case right now. So I guess we need a motion to, let's see, that the planning board will approve that the board of selectmen lay out Norwood Ave as a town board. Does that make sense, that motion?
Do we need to?
Oh, wait a minute, excuse me, I should have asked Mr. Ashenbo if he had any comments before I went to the board.
No, that's, yeah, the board, sense of the board to approve the layout of Norwood Avenue as presented.
And I would say contingent upon the,
Yeah.
Contingent upon the completion
of the check.
it's attached to the letter of September 9th.
So moved.
Well, I don't know if that's the correct way to make the
That was
motion.
Okay, that was good.
Okay, so
Seconded.
it's been moved and seconded that the planning board notify the board of selectmen that the planning board has approved the layout of Norwood Ave in accordance with the drawings and the letter of September 9th, 2019, contingent upon completion of the punch list item shown on the letter of the DPW dated September 9th. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that's all.
Okay.
Continue on.
Next up is Nashua Street Extension.
Oh, I see what you got here.
So there's, take a plan and it's, again, that's a front and back.
Mark, can you just return your compliment?
Yeah.
Include the minutes and everything.
Yeah. And I do have to put a set of plans at the town clerk's office.
Okay, and this one is National Street Extension.
Correct. And so I have the layout plan, or the so-called lotting plan here, but I don't have he hasn't got me the as-built plan yet.
No acceptance. So the plan, excuse me just a second, but the plan we voted on previously is actually titled Road Acceptance Plan of Land, which is probably the right plan.
Yeah.
So we're gonna expect that we're gonna have a titled plan calling this.
Well, technically,
Because this,
technically, we need we need a plan with a different title on it.
right, and we need it, it shows utilities and
Yeah.
like you said, the as-built.
Yeah.
Because we're approving the.
So I do have an as-built, but it was in progress, and it didn't have a lot of the meets and bounds information on it, so that's why I brought this one instead. But GPR has given me a record drawing with the stuff that they still have to do on it. But in general, this is the road that we're laying out. And they're working hard to finish the punch list, and there's like I said, there's a few more things to do. They have done some of this. They fixed the Cape Cod berm, and then a contractor drove over the top of it, so they're gonna have to tear out the replacement berm and put a new berm. They did put the slope granite curbing in. The wooden guardrail is on site. It may have been installed today, but it was the bioretention area. I know they've worked on that. They've done most of the planting. What I want to do with that is put some water in it and see how fast it goes.
Where is that on the map?
So it's in the middle of the cul-de-sac. So that's kind of like a bowl.
Yeah.
All the water flows into that. And then there's a depression with a little overflow beehive outlet, and then that goes down into the drainage basin down in back of one of the houses. And that drainage basin's all been maintained.
Okay.
They did a good job cleaning that up. There were some buried, in that drainage easement, there were some buried manholes that need to get cleaned up. And I think he said they weren't yesterday, but he said they were supposed to be putting the street trees in. So, and Pinard's doing that.
So number 6, where it says located arrangement of castings. Those can't be the castings in the street.
No. Does it say in manhole between cul-de-sac and detention basin? So if you look on the utility plan, there's castings from the bioretention area that go down into the drainage easement retention basin. Okay. And they were planting the lawn, and they had loamed and seeded over all of that.
Okay. So it's really the castings, instead of located arrays, all castings, it's the castings that have to do with the outlet from the
in someone's lawn, so we just have to know where those are.
And you talked about this situation where this goes to the town right away on the maintenance of here. So that was determined somehow a few years ago when this project went through.
This was an interesting subdivision approval.
Okay, so let's let it go with that.
All right.
So, does anyone on the board have any further comments or thoughts on this?
No.
Now, this is a plan this is a subdivision we did not have any input to, although it's recently finished. But it doesn't have street lighting, and it doesn't have sidewalks. And so it looks like we're getting the street trees, but this was approved
Without that.
without those other two
yeah.
features.
Yes. And just a quick question. Who's following up that the punch list is completed by the town meeting? Is that?
I do that.
You will do that? Okay.
So we'll basically have the same situation here where, going to go back to the selectmen and tell them we approve the layout of the road based on the completion of the punch list items. And at that point in time, see what happens. So.
You want a motion?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we recommend to the Board of Selectmen that they accept the layout for the Nashua Street extension as described in the September 9th letter by Mark Wetzel of the DPW, and pursuant to the fulfillment of the punch list as described in the memorandum dated September 10th, also from the DPW.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve and send out to the selectmen.
That was smooth, Dave.
Very good, actually.
There's the best one yet.
That was
Yeah,
the
really.
best
Road
one.
layout for National Street
Wait till we
Extension.
hear the next one.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous vote.
All right.
All right. This is next I broke this up into, so Pingree, he has 2 phases that he's looking for approval on, and I broke it into 2 separate phases because I think there might be a problem with finishing one of them, so we'll give him phase 5 and probably not phase 3B, depending on how much he can get done. And I don't know whether you're, and I should have brought a bigger plan.
Pass this along, sorry.
So, there's, how many did I give you?
I just got 2.
So one for you, and then
Okay,
those go
one.
down to you guys. Oh, you guys need,
I was just trying to help the chair out.
so, here's one for Julie. And here's for you, Mark. So, I don't know, and I apologize, I didn't make a very big plan, but when just before I left, I realized one of the issues we have with the Pingree Hill project is it's a huge project, and they basically just divided it into squares, not based on phases, so it's really hard to look at a set of plans and say, okay, what's on this street, because that street may be on 4 different sheets.
Oh my goodness.
Awesome.
So just so you'll get the idea of the scope of this. So this is Littleton Road here, Snake Hill Road goes up here. Phase 5 is the green, and this is phase 4, which is under construction here. Phase 3B is mostly the brown, but it's some of that we'd already accepted. So it's basically part of Hemlock and part of all of Hickory. And then it goes backwards.
But in the past, what's been going on is this has been a procedure that's been accepted by the town in the past.
Yeah.
We do this in sections, and
Right.
you look at those sections, you determine that those sections are okay, and it
Yeah.
goes to the town meeting.
Yeah, they're pretty much standalone, with the exception of 3A and 3B. They're pretty much standalone sections. Like phase 5 is, there's some drainage from phase 5 that was in one of the other phases, but it was just geographically, that's how it was located. But they're pretty easy to follow. So, which one do I have here? Oh, did I give you, so I'll say I gave you 3B, right? So basically, 3B is Hickory, which is the road that's opposite Bennett's Crossing. We've already accepted that up to Old Farm. So this is from Old Farm up to phase 4. And if you drive up there, you'll notice there's at the intersection, it's not paved. So we're basically, because they're still working on the Hemlock extension, so basically this is accepting it up to about the edge of the final pavement. And so there's going to be a little area in the middle that'll be accepted as part of phase 4. So it's Hickory from Old Farm up to Hemlock, and then Hemlock from Littleton Road up to Hickory. The reason why I mentioned this one may not be what I did with my punch list. The biggest issue on the punch list on this is I noticed that they used the wrong catch basin frames.
No.
So it's starting to, the curbs are starting to sag. And so he's got to go back in and cut those out and replace them. So that's why I'm thinking that that's a fairly big job. So if he doesn't get to that, then we'll just scrap this phase.
Now, when you say he has used the wrong frames, we're talking about the circular collar, basically, that sits on top of the...
So it's where it's the catch basin.
Right, but it's
And
held up by a
so
frame.
There's 2 different ways we install those. One is we put a piece of granite with a curb inlet behind it, and that's what we call a 3-flange, because there's no flange on the bottom, because the water would curls over the back. Or you put a 4-flange in, and then you can pave on top of that flange and set the bituminous in that. What he did was he used a 3-flange frame with a bituminous curb behind it,
So
and now
settled
the
in
curb
the-
is starting
Oh,
to
of course,
sink.
I get it now, I get it, right.
So he's gonna have to cut that frame out
Put the granite
and either put a granite in or repay or redo the curb in. So that's why I haven't gotten a response from him on, we told the contractor a while ago that had to get fixed, but nothing's been done. So that's why I'm thinking this one is probably more likely to get yanked before town meeting,
But you
but
recommend-
everything else is fine. It's the usual stuff of cleaning up the drainage basins and cleaning, we have him clean all the catch basins. They didn't have hoods on anything in there, so he's gotta go put those in, but,
Isn't the final one, number 3, pretty intense? Provide record drawings of all utility sizes,
I think those are all done.
Oh,
They had started this process a year ago and then realized they weren't quite ready.
okay.
So they yanked it, and then the engineer who's been doing all their work for them, his father passed away a few weeks ago, and so he's way behind schedule on stuff. He's been trying to deal with the estate and stuff. So I haven't seen the record drawings, but I think they're pretty far along because, like I said, they started the process a year ago.
So then again, you recommend we approve, but you anticipate that it
Let's
may
keep
not
it,
be
yeah.
complete, you may have to pull this before the town
Yeah.
meeting. Okay, got it.
But like I said, other than those catch basins, everything else is
It's
very
basic.
good. They do a great job paving the road, and
No, it's your turn, Julie. Or Nathan, you guys.
Any comments, Nathan?
No.
Mark? If we'll look for a motion. We'll leave it up to you guys to make a motion.
No, if
You want me to do it? You want me to do it? I'll do it. I make a motion that we submit to the Board of Selectmen a recommendation of approval to accept the layout for Pingree Hill Phase 3B as articulated in Mark Wetzel's letter of September 10th, with the provisos articulated in the memorandum of September 10th regarding the remaining punch list items for Pingree Hill Phase 3B.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded that the planning board send forward to the Board of Selectmen an approval of the Phase 3B, street acceptance in Pingree Hill, per the letters from the Department of Public Works. Any more discussion? No? Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote.
Aye.
Unanimous vote.
all right.
Thank you, Mark.
Last but not least,
I thought we were done.
Phase 5.
That's why
Oh,
we're.
Phase 5.
Yep.
So Phase 5 is Upper Hay Meadow, Apple Blossom, which is a cul-de-sac, and what's the third one?
Holly Ridge.
Holly Ridge.
There you go. Agendas. Spot on. Nice agenda.
And so here's there's 3 of those. And
There is an urgency to this because of the timing to the town meeting, the time it would take to go by us, then back to the selectmen, and back to the.
Right, that's
I think we have a little bit of leeway in there because when we set this up, we thought town meeting was a week earlier, so we have a little bit of slack time in there, but
Prudent to do it now.
but it gets tricky because it is about a 45-day process to get everything done.
Again with the catch basin hoods.
Right. And there's also,
Sewer and drain manholes are mixed up.
yeah,
That happens. I got one down my street. Mark Sewer, it's a drain.
yeah, well, there's one that's marked sewer that's a drain, and one that's marked drain that's a sewer.
Yeah, right.
And he does have the retention basins up there really do need to, I walked in and on 3 of these. They're all in people's backyards too, so they have designed access, but of course the people have made the access into lawns. And,
Of course.
but it does need to get cleaned up.
What about that sinkhole?
I marked it out. It's really interesting because it wasn't there a year ago, and I don't even know if it was there this spring, but you can just start to faintly see a little depression. And so it almost looks like there's a manhole structure there, but there's nothing on the plans. So, so they're gonna have to do a little investigation, see what that is.
Okay.
I mean, considering the amount of roads we're talking about, these are pretty small punch lists
Right,
in general.
yeah. But they've all been, I mean, we've gone through these punch lists before. These have all been ready for acceptance for, like I said, over a year.
Oh, okay, good.
So this is the current updated one.
So the same thing could happen here if he's not ready,
Yeah,
same issue.
yeah. I mean, they have an incentive to get it approved because, they don't
You have to pick up the
maintain
plowing
it.
and whatnot.
Yeah.
They don't have to, they've been doing the plowing, obviously, or somebody.
Up until, they were doing the plowing up until last winter when their plow company abandoned them. And so basically we set up an MOU with him and we plowed the street. We're up there doing all the other roads that are accepted, so we plow the street and charge them for it.
Nice. Anybody else? No? That's another motion, Mr. Krantz.
You want me to do this? Well, I make a motion that the planning board recommend to the Board of Selectmen to approve the layout for Pingree Hill Phase 5 punch list pursuant to the memorandum composed by DPW dated September 10th and with the provisos in the memorandum of September 10th as well.
Second.
Moved and seconded in accordance with Mr. Kranz's motion. Any more further discussion? Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Welcome. A lot of work there. Anything else?
Tons of work.
I'm surprised we didn't find one where it said Norwood Ave and then Pingree Hill on the same thing.
Okay.
It's tough when I'm doing my own typing work, huh?
When all of this ends up going to the town meeting, in your experience, has there been any comments from the floor from people who say, what are you doing? Or is it just a
We get some comments.
Yeah.
We get a lot of comments on, especially if we do easements and things like that. We get comments about, how are we going to maintain them, how many floors are going to cost, things like that.
Right. All right. Right. I have to get, when the chair is ready.
Okay, so moving on to the next agenda item. The next on the agenda is a public hearing for proposed zoning bylaw amendments for the October 28th special town meeting.
Okay, I'd like to read it.
We'll ask the clerk to read the legal advertising.
Public hearing notice for amendments to the Ayer zoning bylaw. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5, the Ayer Planning Board will hold a public hearing at 6:15 p.m. on Tuesday, September 10th, 2019 at the Ayer Town Hall, 1 Main Street, Ayer, Massachusetts, to amend the following sections of the zoning bylaw of the Town of Ayer. 1. Amend Section 10.1 Open Space Residential Development by striking lowercase a, striking out the word only from the first sentence in the third paragraph of Section 10.1.1 purpose, and adding the words applicable provisions of the Ayer zoning bylaw after the word section in that sentence. And B, replacing the existing text of Section 10.1.4 maximum number of dwelling units, which describe a formula for calculating the maximum number of base units, with text specifying the requirements for and process of reviewing a yield plan to determine the base number of units. 2. Add provisions for accessory apartments, which are dwelling units subordinate to and associated with single-family homes or properties that are owner-occupied, by adding a definition of such to Section 2.0, detailed specifications for such apartments and use regulations Section 5.3.2, and amend the table of use regulations by making accessory apartments permitted via special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals in the following zoning districts: A1, A2, GR, which is the general residence, downtown form-based code district, MT, which I believe is multi-use, transition, and general business, and prohibited from light industrial, and healthcare. What ACS is, HCS. Number 3, amend section 10.3 affordable housing by striking the phrase requiring a special permit in section 10.3.2 A, applicability, and replacing with the phrase whether required by special permit or allowed by right, and by moving the provisions of section 10.3.3 H.1 and 2 density bonus to new section 10.3.2 C, and retitling that section to applicability and density bonuses after striking the phrase in granting a special permit under the section 10.3 from the last sentence thereof, and by striking the phrase an affordable housing special permit from the last sentence of section 10.3.3 I1, and replacing with the phrase has granted site approval or OSRD approval in reference to the planning board, and by removing all other references to special permits from 10.3. The purpose of these changes is to make clear that the provisions of the affordable housing section and any density bonuses thereunder apply, whether the proposed project requires a special permit or is a permitted use, uppercase P, in the table of use regulations of the air zoning bylaw. No standards, requirements, or formulas have been changed. Number 4, form-based code for West Main Street. Amend the air zoning bylaw and zoning map deleting the West Main Street Business District and replacing with a form-based code district, and amending all sections of the air zoning bylaw, sections 1.0 through 10.0 inclusive, including all table headings, titles, etc. that reference the subject West Main Street General Business District throughout the bylaw, so as to accommodate the proposed new Mitchellville West Main form-based code district as necessary throughout the air zoning bylaw. Section 5.2 Table of Use Regulations and Section 6.2 Schedule of Dimensional Requirements will also be amended to replace references to the subject West Main Street General Business District with the form-based code district and address allowable uses and requirements. The following changes to Section 5.2 Table of Use Regulations will also be made to accommodate the form-based code district. Residential use, 1.3 from N to P, 1.4 from N to SPB, 1.5 from N to SPB. The full text of these amendments can be found on the Town of Ayer website at https://www.ayer.ma.ua, and paper copies can be obtained at the town clerk's office at the Air Planning Department, Air Town Hall during normal business hours, as written August 23rd and August 30th.
Excuse me, could you repeat that once again? Only this time say it?
I was just gonna say he was made for this role.
Thank you very much.
Made for this role, John.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's good that we're being video recorded.
That was impressive.
So we
Okay.
move to Mr. Ashenbo.
Yep, getting right into it.
Please.
General preface, I would recommend that we continue the hearings that we're holding tonight to the next meeting, you know, in case there are any changes. It's always a safe thing to do.
Can we just do that all together now?
No, we should do it after each one separately, because they're each going to be a separate warrant article. But I will go quickly. So first of all, with the
It's all one
OSRD,
hearing, Mark, you just continued all in one, it's not separate hearings, it's one hearing.
well,
You
yeah,
can't
one
continue.
hearing, but separate motions for each item.
Section. Okay.
Because form-based code is going to have a separate hearing for some of the changes to the use table that were not captured for the first hearing notice. But anyway, back to the OSRD. We noticed that there was this word that OSRDs only need to adhere to the standards within that section itself. And that caused us problems in the past.
Yes,
with
indeed.
some of the recent subdivisions where, you know, some of the applicants were saying, well, we don't have to do this sort of thing, or we don't have to adhere to the lot open space requirement because of the word only. So if we strike that word only and we say that that OSRDs have to apply to the applicable provisions of the air zoning bylaw after the word section. That'll make clear that pertinent sections of the bylaw do apply to OSRDs. And
Excuse me for just a second.
Yes.
It's easier for me to follow along when I, with this copy that has all the
yes,
changes.
if you have the copy with all the,
Yep,
yes.
yep,
that's
yep.
all.
Keep going through this all.
Excuse me?
No, we're not gonna read every word tonight, no, I know
All I'm
it's late.
saying is, instead
Yeah,
of.
this
looking at
document.
I'm just trying to figure out if we're continuing it, can't we just do it then?
Well, we have to, well, no, we have to at least have some discussion tonight, even though it's late,
That's
just
my
so,
discussion.
yes. But anyway, I'm not gonna dwell on that one, the only thing is pretty self-explanatory.
Yep.
The second part is more, we're gonna replace the formula that we use with a yield plan requirement, which is the old-fashioned way of doing OSRD plans. The planning world came up with this idea of making everything predictable and formulaic, you know, with a formula so that it's more predictable and all. And it works well in towns with large lot sizes, like most of Massachusetts has 1 or 2 acre lot zoning where you don't have water and sewer. So the math will work out there, but where you have such small lot sizes as Ayer, 12,000 square feet, when you end up doing the math, you get, you know, lots of units. So this is just a illustration of what a yield plan could look like. Basically, a yield plan is you do a sketch, basically a preliminary plan level, so without all the detailed engineering, that shows that you have the amount of frontage you need along a road, you have the lot area that you need, and you basically adhere to the wetland and other requirements. So you count all those up, assuming they meet the zoning, you come up with a number. And so the planning board will make a finding when we have a preliminary plan before us, based on the yield plan, that, okay, this plan can get 30 lots, based on a conventional subdivision. So
Right.
then you apply the 30 lots to the OSRD plan, where you have 50% open space, and you have to do all these other things. So that's,
Right, where you manipulate the lot size and frontage requirements, et cetera.
right.
But first the yield plan to get the number,
Exactly.
then the negotiations for the 50% open space.
Right,
Got it.
right. So this, I think, will get us, and here's some real-world examples. You might, you may just remember these from earlier in the evening, but I won't name names. So you have a 10-acre tract of land and about 2.5 acres of wetlands. When I did sort of a sketch, now this is not definitive, is a good word there, but came up with about approximately 14 lots with a conventional subdivision, 100 feet of frontage, 12,000 square feet. But when you did the formula that's in the bylaw, you come up with 26, which is an 86% increase over the conventional. The actual plan that they showed us has 19 lots, which is a more modest 36% increase. So we've seen that in the 2 cases before so far, that there's no way they can realize what the formula says without having, 10 square foot lots and, cramming everything together, which is very difficult.
Part of the problem with this was that the 2 proposals we've seen came in a district that had a minimum lot size of 12,000 square feet. So the way the formula was set up before is you're dividing by 12,000 and you're getting a higher count. But if you moved to A1 where the minimum lot size is 40,000 square feet, you don't get that, you don't have that problem. But we did have the problem come up where we had a smaller lot size requirement.
Yep.
Right.
In the second example, the parent parcel, the tract is larger, about 20 acres, about 12 acres of wetlands and steep slopes. Conventional, maybe about 22, you have a little more wiggle room there to put the road in. The formula, though, resulted in 33 lots, which is a 50% increase over conventional. The actual plan is more in line with what you could have gotten in a yield plan.
Right.
But, but still, I think the formula is not serving us well. And,
Right.
It's causing all these problems. We're getting overcrowded subdivisions. When you attempt to even approach the number that you get with the formula, you have to decrease the lots even more than you probably would otherwise. And you also need more common driveways in order to get to those lots. So you end up with all these spaghetti plans. and it gets the fire department upset, and everybody, you know, so you have increased traffic and wear and tear on the roads, greater fiscal impact to the town because you have more homes, increased stormwater runoff, potential drainage problems. And this one I think is very important too because it constrains us in terms of the laying out and preserving the 50% open space because
Exactly.
you have so much room to put all these lots and then what's left over is what we get. And I think if we can decrease the density a little bit to be more in line with a conventional plan, we'll have a lot more flexibility in terms of laying out the subdivision, both the road, the lots, the open space, everything else. It'll be much easier and give us a better product, both for the town and the residents. So that's...
So is the issue here, Mark, there's like a bait and switch? The developer, the owner thought they could get a lot more because they read the formula, and then when they got into the details, it wasn't the value that they thought?
No, the opposite.
The opposite.
The opposite.
It's the opposite. They exploited the opportunity to get many more lots in within the same space.
Right.
Okay. The formula gave them a small number, and they tried to get 2x.
Yeah, the formula basically allowed them to take the parcel and divide it by the smaller number with no regard to frontage
Exactly.
and lot size.
Okay.
So because
Yes.
we limit frontage, this is really helpful if you start from the frontage requirement. So that you
Exactly.
can't have a lot on the street that doesn't have 100-foot frontage in
Right.
a standard subdivision.
Right.
And a lot size of whatever the minimum is, depending on part of town. But since there was no frontage requirement in the new deal, and you divided it by that number, you could get a higher count out of it. That's one of the problems.
Yeah.
There's several problems.
I just wanted, very quickly, but another problem is that without making this a change, that we have no wiggle room to negotiate any affordable housing, right? I mean, isn't that part of the deal too, or is that my
Right,
misunderstanding?
no, that is, because the OSRD section does talk about what's called the density bonus or bonus
Exactly.
units. If you provide extra open space or you provide some affordable housing, you're supposed to be able to get a unit or two extra. Well, there's physically no room to do that now.
No,
But if we go back to the yield plan approach, there will be. So we'll have the ability to
Good.
have incentives and, you know, give people, you know, affordable housing, generate affordable housing, more open space, etc. This is just the formula section that's being replaced. So I just wanted to put that up there in case anybody asks what it was.
Thank you.
I'm not going to go through it unless you want me
You?
to.
No?
Just one quick question I want to ask you
Yes.
regarding this.
Different.
50, I'm sorry, are we resolving the issue with the 50 and 100-foot buffers and whether that can be included in the open space calculation?
No,
Or is that
no,
something different?
that's separate. I mean,
Separate?
we're going to
That's
deal with
fine, I'll
that in
shut
the
up.
subdivision regs. I just
Fine, I
want
just
to
wanted to know.
replace the
John, you should
formula
ask any
with the
question
yield
you have.
plan.
That's why we're here. That's what
All
we're
right.
doing. So
I just wanted to
I
be clear on this.
still will tease you.
Okay, that's all right.
Glad
Okay, the Second Amendment,
Let
I'll
me just
move.
backtrack.
Oh,
So,
yes.
What you're doing tonight is going to be your first cut at this, but these are the slides you intend, I want to clarify first, these
Right.
are slides you intend to use at the town meeting.
Right, with
After
some,
we approve the stuff, then you're going to go forward with these slides.
right, but I could amend these slides
Yeah,
based
okay.
on input from, if you think there's a better way for me to illustrate things for the town meeting or to explain it, you know, this is not set in stone. I did this fairly quickly for the purpose of tonight.
Yeah.
But, you know, I could amend it, have more pictures, you know, whatever.
Or we could do less.
Yeah.
We
Less
could-
text.
Well,
Less
right,
text, more
right,
pictures.
right,
And-
yeah.
We could just, do less.
And the value of this, what
Yes.
does the town get out of it?
Well, the town will get superior, you know, that's,
Yeah.
better subdivisions, less crowding, yeah. I'll have bullet points.
With
that'll-
more open
yeah,
space,
like
yeah.
More open,
Right.
right. The Second Amendment is restoring accessory apartments to the Ayer zoning bylaw. And when the town adopted the comprehensive bylaw prepared by the consultant back a few years ago, we took out accessory apartments because they were controversial with some officials in town. But we were able to work through those issues, and so we would like to put that back. So what an accessory apartment is, it's, you know, what used to be called an in-law apartment or, you know, a granny flat, whatever. You know, it's a dwelling unit within usually a large single-family home. And it allows you to, you know, to carve out a separate living space, you know, a dwelling unit, an apartment, that can be used for you know, say elderly residents, these large homes up here, right up above here in the general residence zone. They're huge houses, back in the day, people had 7, 8 kids or whatever, and there was a bedroom for each one. But now, what do people do when they live in these huge homes and they get it, to be old and they don't have much of an income, they're on a steady income? This will help the elderly residents to stay in their home by taking on a boarder who can help out with the mortgage or the taxes or whatever. And also, if there are adult children living in one of these big houses, they can have their parent move in with them instead of going to an assisted living or nursing home type facility. They're designed to be compatible with the neighborhood, and there are criteria to keep them in appearance with the surrounding areas. One thing, in order to not have problems with residents making a ruckus or whatever, the principal residence or the accessory apartment, doesn't really matter, as long as the owner of the property has to live on the property. So it could be within the principal residence or the accessory. The apartment shall not exceed 25% of the gross floor area or 750 square feet, whichever is greater, and that's a pretty standard limit for accessory apartments found in many bylaws. Of course, you have to have a separate bathroom, kitchen, and bedroom. Everything must be approved by the building inspector and meet building codes. And it's permitted by a special permit from the ZBA. Reason for the ZBA is because they issue most housing-related special permits in the town for whether it be affordable housing or duplexes or multifamily. It's the ZBA who is the permitting authority. Planning board might approve later site plans that go along with that, but the ZBA has to make the determination of whether these can occur at all. So back, and I was going to talk about the...
have a word edit.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yes, please.
It's a little out of character, but at the final permitted by special permit.
In all districts.
In all districts, could that be except?
Except.
Yes, it should be except.
What? Oh.
I didn't write it.
No, I know, but I
No,
want
but
you.
would you write it down?
I want you to write it down,
Write it down
so
to
I don't
tell
write
you?
it down.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
Julie will get that.
That's how this works.
We're getting giddy now. Okay, let's get.
I know.
Question on accessories.
Yes.
Does it change the assessor's value of the property?
Yes.
Is that
Any
covered here?
additions, modifications to a house, all those
Yeah, but if you're
occupancy
just-
permits go to the assessors and the assessors make those.
Yeah, you're just carving and saying, I'm gonna segment this section now to be apartment, I'm gonna add a kitchen and bathroom, I'm gonna take a bedroom and turn it into these.
If you remodel your kitchen, it ups the value of your house,
The
that goes to the
assessor,
assessors,
yeah.
it's up to the assessors to make that
Okay.
application.
Okay.
That'd be the assessor's question, not
Okay, but that's not,
this question.
doesn't need to be covered in here because that's SOP.
Yeah,
That's the board of assessors.
Yeah, that's pretty standard. I
But
do
I
want
think
to draw your attention to the actual text that we're going to be talking about, because I made some changes based on
Oh, good.
comments from the
Oh.
town council, which we just received yesterday.
Okay,
So
good. I was just
did
going
not
to
have
ask you
time
that.
to do
Yes.
that.
Excellent.
So what you see in the red text, in the various numbers, is the
Yep.
original text that was put in there after I consulted with the building commissioner. And it was basically to address his concerns that they meet the building code and, and there's some limits on the permitting and that sort of thing. And I'll just go through them in turn. So number 5, we struck out what you see there, unless prohibited by the state
Just
building
struck
code. The reason for that is town council said that zoning cannot regulate the interior space of buildings. That's a building code thing. So overlapping jurisdictions, and the building commissioner is okay with that. He said, yeah, that's in the building code.
Okay.
But number 6 is fine. Number 7,
Hold on a second.
yes, I know I'm
When you have the
going
accessory
fast.
apartment, in most situations, someone is gonna have to pull a building permit. to do
Oh,
this.
yes,
So
Yeah,
we-
they're gonna have to pull building permit.
Right, so
Yes.
we'll understand that, it's just not floating out there on their own. They have to pull a building
Of course.
permit. They have to go to the zoning board of appeals. In that process,
Yep,
there's
there's a
gonna be
special
quite a few
permit.
steps
Yeah,
that are involved. Okay.
yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, absolutely. ZBA is the first stop. They get their special permit, then they need to go to the building commissioner to get a, building permit, occupancy permit eventually for the unit. Number 8, building commissioner wanted to see if we could put in some sort of renewal clause for a special permit. Town council is of the opinion that that's not really something that we can do. So what she suggested instead is what you see in the text in blue at the bottom of number 8 is have an affidavit. So I'll just read it aloud here. Owners of accessory apartments approved under this section must file an affidavit with the building commissioner each year stating that the requirements of any special permit issued under this section and any conditions of approval issued by the Zoning Board of Appeals are still being met. Such affidavit is due within 1 month of the anniversary date of the decision of the Zoning Board of Appeals. And this will satisfy the building commissioner's concerns that the units are being occupied and operated as intended. Basically, it's a simple thing. People just get a very simple letter saying that, I am still the owner, so-and-so is still my tenant, or this is the tenant, and, we're adhering to it, and, it goes into his file, so we have a record of that. And he was pleased with that language in blue text there.
I think it's too wordy.
Okay, well, we could.
I mean, the owners of accessory apartments approved under this section must file an affidavit with the building commissioner each year stating that the requirements of any special permit under this section, any conditions of approval are still in compliance or something like that.
All right, we could rewrite it. If we do rewrite it, we may need to hold an additional hearing. I'm not sure yet. It depends on the level of the change. But if we wish to do that, if anybody wants to wordsmith, we can. Or I can work on that prior to the 24th.
But she's going to have to look at this anyway, like the town council.
Right, yes.
Leave it up to her.
Yeah, but that was her suggestion as to how to deal with that issue.
Okay.
Though, admittedly, she was perhaps wordy there. Number 9.
Strike some wording.
You struck out the extension of the original permit?
Right, yeah, she didn't think that was something we could do. Again, right now at this 9:30, I'm not remembering why, because I have my notes somewhere else in small print. But,
Okay.
all right. Number 9.
She says, see comment above, in my opinion,
right.
does not provide a renewal special permit, therefore new special permit will be needed.
Yep, right.
It would be needed to apply for. So
Yep.
she thinks it's duplicate.
Yeah. And lastly, number 12, she said that was something that the building commissioner wanted to give him, the final say on this, and she felt that really, as long as they get their special permit and they go through all the building process with the building permit and occupancy, that covers number 12, and she strongly recommended that we delete that.
Okay.
I recommend deleting this. It is required that any construction meet the standards of the building code, and zoning has no control over the building code.
Okay.
So, and I did run these changes by the building commissioner this morning, and he's fine with them, so that's good. That we're all on the same page with the amendment here. With the exception of perhaps maybe tightening up number 8 a little bit, being a little wordy.
So what is the value of renewing this every year? Why?
Well, it's not renewed so much as just getting, just showing that, I guess there have been problems with problem tenants in the past in
He's
town.
concerned that, you'll get the accessory apartment and then you'll start using it for different purpose. May not stay in accessory apartment any longer or some other work.
Don't live there anymore.
You may move out and then just rent the whole thing.
There's many conditions.
Airbnb or some such thing.
Could be a number of things that could change, and so I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, it's just to ensure that it's, operating, because from my understanding, there have been problems with, we never had this provision in the past, so I guess you could argue that they were sort of illegal. But, there were apartments that were, they didn't meet code, there were fire traps, too many people, lots of problems.
But that's in the initial, when I set it up, if I get a permit, the building inspector's going to go through all that.
Right.
If you're trying to help somebody who's aging stay in the community, the having them have to do something every year, it's a bit and it's going to raise their taxes. there are some things that are making this onerous on that person.
Might be, and I don't think necessarily, a very simple affidavit could be written by,
Sure.
somebody else that
It's
doesn't.
just-
There are other towns that do require that they be inspected every year.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's out of the blue thing. Littleton does it.
My recommendation is that this is something we come back to and talk about section by section, line by line,
Yeah.
in a future meeting. because
Right,
We're not
exactly.
gonna have enough time to think about this. This is a very controversial issue.
Yeah.
Right.
We need to be prepared that we understand what we're voting.
Okay.
Right, and we will have that
Because that's how we
opportunity.
got pulled the last time.
Yeah, I would
We
say,
pulled it the last
Right.
time because it gets pretty complicated when you start to dig into the weeds. of each
Yeah,
of
yeah,
these
I'm just trying to
Right.
find what those questions are gonna be.
Right, so we have to have an agreement that we
Right.
understand it pretty thoroughly.
yeah, and I think my opinion is it's better to get accessory apartments on the books so that, apartments out there can come up to code and be,
Agreed.
be brought, into the legal light of things, so to speak, and new ones can be approved, for these very reasons. And if we see something that we need to tweak in the future, we can do it as a minor zoning amendment. But I think getting it back into the zoning bylaw is very important, in my opinion, for the town.
There's also, I think it helps the town in their grant applications and other things to have more evidence of accessory apartments
Right,
as a feature for affordable
Yes.
housing and other
Yes.
aspects of that.
Right.
right.
Thank you, Mr. Diskin, for those of us that write those grants. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, I'm not objecting to the idea of having
No,
accessory apartments.
neither am I. I just
the-
want to make sure we understand
effort.
every single line that we are clear on, because there's
Correct.
going to be many questions,
Right.
potentially. This is a hot item.
Oh, I got that one. I want to go to the next page. I have a few pictures. That's somewhere else in Massachusetts, I forget where, but it shows the various types. You can do it in the garage, you can do it within they're not showing much for within the building except up in the attic or the basement.
Yeah. Thank
You
you.
want to have some pictures. Okay, this one might seem a little confusing, but,
Okay, so we're gone.
okay, sorry, now, I know I'm moving too fast, and now we're leaving accessory apartments,
No,
and we're going to affordable housing.
I don't think I-
And this was prompted by Alicia Hersey, who's our housing specialist, I don't know what her exact title is, but she noticed,
Community Development Program.
right, she noticed that in the, what's called the affordable housing section of the bylaw, section 10.3, is the very last section right now, which we like to call inclusionary housing because that's a more up-to-date term. It mentioned that the requirements of this section basically only apply when you require a special permit to construct a multifamily or a townhouse. And constructing a multifamily building or a townhouse might allow you to do bonus units and, get a density bonus and all this sort of thing for affordable housing, which is all well and good. But her comment, which I agree with, is if you're limiting it to those districts that require a special permit, what about apartments or multifamily that are going into a district that's allowed by right?
Right.
Like the general residence in the mixed-use transitional district allow this sort of housing by right. You don't need a special permit. So that could potentially limit the number of affordable units that the town could obtain through multifamily to count towards our 10% goal of getting 10% of our housing that meets the state's affordability requirements so that we can keep 40Bs away and we can meet our obligation according to the state. So it's a very simple change of just stating that this applies whether you need a special permit or if it's allowed by right. So that's it. We're not changing the formula. We're really not changing much at all. We moved a few things around. We moved the section in blue on the bottom of page 5 from the back. That gives you the formula for the density bonus. And, on page 7 of the actual text from the town council or my memo that has them all, Where you see procedures, it's on page 7, it's in the blue highlight. A minor change that I would like to make here is, says no building permit should be issued for a development that is subject to section 10.3 unless the planning board, and originally said, has granted site plan or OSRD approval. I would like to change that to say has granted applicable approval. So that we're not tying it to a certain type of development. And I believe town council flagged that you can't require a special permit for a subdivision, so where we mentioned OSRD, even though they're allowed by right in our town, we didn't want there to be any confusion.
Of course.
So, it would be applicable development. Or applicable.
Is the council comfortable with your word change to applicable?
They don't know about it yet, but they will.
Okay, that's fine. I'm sorry, keep going.
Yes, the final version has to be approved by council for the
Just want to make sure that that in itself doesn't create new ambiguities.
I don't think, no, it would be whatever is applicable. So I think it's fine, but you're right. It has to be, that word change needs to be.
Okay, good. And you also believe that we've addressed the town council's opinion that applied to 10.3.2.1, where she wrote that long, incomprehensible paragraph about Wall Street Development Board.
Oh, right, yes. Yeah, that's where she's talking about special permits.
Yeah, so that's all addressed, that you've addressed that?
I believe so.
Okay,
yes.
good.
I will talk to her about this, on the phone.
Because I got completely lost in that paragraph, because it's over my head, it's really legal.
Yeah, I think she was sort of misunderstanding what we were trying to do, that we were trying to do this through the subdivision process, which we're not. And, so, I know, it's a lot, it's really, a lot of verbiage to just say that this applies to all multifamily.
Great.
I just had a comment on that.
Yes.
I remember I met with Alan and Alicia on this.
Yeah.
And what happened, 10.331191, the one above has granted the site plan. The original language said, the planning board, unless the planning board has granted, an affordable housing special permit. That was basically the way it was originally written.
Oh.
But I thought we could either potentially just take the whole thing right out, one, or we were trying to put back in there that the planning board, there was only going to be 2 types of approval. There was going to be a site plan approval or an OSRD approval. There was only going to be those 2 options. That's why the language went in there, I think.
Yeah.
Now you're just saying the applicable approval, but what if no approvals are required? It's just, I don't know. It's almost like you can pull the whole thing right out. And he's not gonna give out a building permit unless he's got the special.
Yes, right. What are
It
the
talks
type of
about a building
permits
permit,
applicable?
but
Yes.
it was really saying, no building permit shall be granted unless you have the affordable housing special
For the
permit.
subject,
But
yeah, I'll give that a little more thought.
it
and,
might be that the whole thing
right.
comes out.
Perhaps it could, and that would be easy too, because I think when you delete something that's, if it has no substantive change, it's considered a minor change that you don't have to repost for, so.
So the main point was we
So
were
we
trying
may
to
be
get
able
the
to
word
delete
special
that.
permit out of it.
Right, yes. So we may be able to delete that,
I don't know, just a thought.
So I would ask, since this is probably the first time you've thought in depth about all, these 3 that are in my purview, so to speak.
Oh, no, this has been much on my mind.
Well, if you can, before between now and the next meeting, think of it, and please give me a call or email me if you
This
have
is
any
good work. No, I'm sorry, this is good work, thank you.
Yes, oh, yes.
If we're gonna name it inclusionary housing,
Mhm.
will all the words affordable throughout the whole thing go to
No, I
affordability?
think, I discussed that with Alicia, and actually, the word affordable is probably
it'll
the
be
better word for a lot of,
Because it'll be within the purpose definition, so that way
Right.
it'll be understood that
yes,
it's inclusionary housing means affordable?
right,
Okay,
yes, I believe so.
works for me.
So my recommendation is that the planning board continue, name each of these, to the September 24th meeting, continue the public hearing on these 3 items before Alan talks about the form-based code, because that'll be a separate one, so at least we're moving things along legally, but of course, I don't want to shortchange the discussion here if you have other questions or comments.
to.
So I need to make a motion
Well, the
to.
first thing is there any more discussion?
Yeah, any more discussion,
You ask
right?
that in the
I
middle of the
shouldn't be.
motion?
No.
We do, we discuss that every time. And then we never have discussion.
Okay, so everyone's set with Mr. Ashambo's presentation?
Yes, thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay.
You looking for a motion, Mr. Chair?
Well, I was trying to clarify
Of course.
whether we need to motion these three or the whole four. So should we wait for Alan and do the whole four? That
We
was my
could.
question.
It doesn't
I have
matter.
my own opinion and others have theirs, so
Okay,
it's up to the planner to decide.
okay, so I'll accept a motion that the items that were presented by Mr. Ashambo, the three items
Oh,
be.
no.
Felt that.
I'd like to make a motion that we continue to the next meeting, September 24th, our open public hearing regarding potential changes to the OSRD yield plan, number one. Number two, the accessory apartment, are we calling them rules, accessory apartment?
Accessory apartments.
Accessory apartments, and number three, the amendments to the affordable housing / inclusionary housing for next meeting.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Having none, there is.
Aye.
Put it on the roll.
Aye.
You can always have a chance to see something else can come to your mind.
You never know.
That's the point.
That's
Wait a
right.
second.
The 24th is for.
Okay, so we have one item left on this particular section, and that's
I think that's yours.
to listen to Mr. Nguyen's presentation on
Alan.
the page code.
Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
I
Come on,
actually
man.
forgot. Why am I? Oh, that's right. I didn't see it today. That's right.
Didn't you bring your guitar?
I can get it. It's right upstairs.
Excellent.
So we have a obligation to the public and under the hearing process to go through this presentation.
Yes, we do.
That's in order to cover the
Yes, we do.
Right, yep.
requirements of our hearing
Here we
requirements.
go.
Who's up for a Midnight Madness form-based code presentation? Let's go to midnight. It'll
Not
be a
this
cool
board.
record. We can say we. No, okay.
We got this.
Exactly.
This reminds me of when I was 20. Me and my friends would just be going out at 10 o'clock. We just get our second win. It's like, all right, let's go now. Yeah.
Where can we get
Remember
Chinese
that?
food?
When we were 24?
It's so long ago. I have no memory of it.
I will try to move along with this.
Anyone needs extra
Maybe not as
copies, I
fast as I
have the
do.
whole presentation
Right.
right here.
So we've all been given in the packet.
Oh, you did?
the
Yeah, it is.
presentation.
No, they're all good.
I make all these copies and no one ever takes them.
Where? Oh.
There is an advantage because the board
I
is
was
familiar
making
with the
copies at 11
downtown
o'clock.
Yes.
air change to the form-based code. so
That's right,
much
you
of-
all, it's easy because,
Right.
you
Much of the
know,
language is-
Nate
Yeah.
hasn't, but I have to do it, you know, for the.
Understood.
public.
Right.
All right. Okay. Okay, no, I should just do this. I love that picture. Okay.
You might have to manually advance them, because you could try that thing, but I think it's broken.
Okay. I just want to start off quickly with form-based code, just as, I don't know if anyone in the public's watching it, I doubt it, but you never know.
Yeah.
We just want to start off on,
We're watching at the gym. Hi, everyone at the
That's right.
show of fitness.
Hey, here we are, form-based code, okay.
Right on the street.
Thursday night, September the 19th, we are doing, it's very important to do a big public forum and actually open public design session. Really important for our residents and the folks of Ayer to be actually involved in composing and formulating the code, although mostly, the draft is done, but we want to do that session to make sure folks are actually engaged, they have an opportunity to go through it. We're also going to be doing a couple of mobile workshop and tours right out on the corridor for folks. All this in preparation for October 28th special town meeting. Okay. Okay, so just understanding what we're talking about out here, and this is what we call sort of the outer reach of the West Main Street corridor, historically known as Mitchellville. Believe it or not, Mitchellville, it is a place. But here you see the pink is the current general business zone out there. So what we're talking about, unlike when we did the form-based code in downtown, we literally replace the entire downtown district. We just remove that, insert the new. Here, this is not the only general business zone in the town. So we're just saying we are, in this case, removing this general business zone and replacing it with the proposed Mitchellville, West Main form-based code. So just, that's the first one, understand, that's what we're doing.
Now, just to interrupt for a second, you
Please.
feel it's very critical that we use the term Mitchellville to identify this location?
It isn't necessary, and I've gone back and forth. Some people are, it's distracting them saying, what is that? And just the only reason I kind of did that is we go forward with this. We do form-based codes to create place,
Exactly.
the economics of
Right.
place.
Understood.
That's the whole reason. It's not a strip corridor, it's a place.
Right.
This was a historic, real place. We do that. And the only other thing, Ken, is when I say to people, oh, we're doing a form-based code for West Main Street, they'll often say, oh, you mean starting, right at Park Street? And I say, oh, no, it's outer. So for all those
Yeah.
reasons. But if Mitchellville starts just freaking people out too much, we'll just say it's the outer West Main Street form-based code.
No, stick with it. We got it.
There you go. All right. And just understand now, we do, as you guys know, and the other folks know, we go from the so-called conventional, no more zoning map, regulating plan. Of all the form-based codes I've done in my career in many places, this must be the simplest regulating plan I've ever done in my life. Okay. I must say, this code is really stripped down, simple.
You only have 2 transects.
That's it, because that's all you really, that's all you're dealing with here. And again, this zone's going right from sort of the railroad overpass, past
Right,
bridge,
right.
right to sort of the Verbeck Gate. So we're talking here. Now, because we have our T6, which is our downtown, we are not trying to recreate a second downtown. There's only
Right.
one downtown here that is that urban intensity. This is going to be much less intense. So what we're saying out here, the core of this will be T5, okay? And then going out here on the peripheries, because again, just like in downtown, what do we always say? Where is the core, the main square going to be? That's central. This will be the place we're talking about the most intense in terms of height and density. And then we have a T5.1, okay, on the outers. We did a T5.1 in the downtown too, because it's really not a T4 that
Got
low. And again, it shows that when we do these codes, they are designed specifically only for this place. It's not this abstract whatever. It's literally designed only for this place. So here's where we have the regulating plan, very straightforward and simple. I did this just for folks in general, just the whole transect bit. What is it? Town center, think of the traditional New England Village Center, the white wooden church, the house is close, and then as you go in the outer rings, as you move out, less and less intense. We do this, we're trying to do this in there, which reinforces the open space recreation plan, showing we need to channel the most intense development in the down central cores, and then as we go out, a little less and less. This, however, right, in most New England towns, understand, a lot of New England towns have little sub-villages in them.
True.
Which makes New England towns so cool. This is sort of an example, because our T6 is right, right at, well, I can use that too, right at Park and Main, and then T5 is a little out. So you say, well, then why do we have another T5 way out there? Shouldn't that be, because that is, it's Mitchellville, it's its own little village.
That's right.
So I call them sort of like little bonfires of place. I'm gonna bring them up.
I'm with it.
Bonfires of place, these little spots, oh yeah, there's a little, okay, anyway, that's it. And the transect again, most intense development, we know, just what we witnessed here tonight, there's amazing development pressure on our neighborhoods now. Why are you packing this stuff in my neighborhood? Why are you, we want to channel that development. Developers don't care where they develop, they just want to develop where it's quickest, easiest, they can make money.
Right.
And we're saying, we want you to channel that stuff, lay off the pressure on our neighborhoods, come to the downtown or in these new villages, which are designed for it. It's okay. And again, just there's a lovely corridor. There's the railroad bridge right there overpass. Here is our subject area. You see how lovely it even looks just from that. It's obvious this place is suffering. Even just quick, right? And by the way, this might be, as if I was really a wise guy and cocky, I'd go to town meeting 28, I'd show these images saying, this is what conventional zoning delivered for us over the last 40 years. How about if we try something new? Vote no. this, and we all know what this is delivered, it isn't. This corridor has the most potential, I believe, in any of the corridors of Air future potential. And it's the place right now where we are the taxpayers, our land is being squandered and wasted by this low density, low development, which is not creating any job creation. It's not yielding the type of taxes it should yield to run this business and corporation called the town of Ayer. And everyone knows this. Why is this happening out here? It's feeding on itself. All I need to do is show these pictures. This is what conventional zoning has given us. Why would we continue to do this? And even the development community, they look it up and they approach me, they say, I'd like to do something here, and they look at this and they go, I don't know what that is out there. I wouldn't even put in these because I don't understand even what's going on out there. Form-based code will create the place, a sense of what's about to create, and these folks can start investing out here.
Excuse me.
Yes, please.
So under your village core T5,
Yes.
you have an example of it on the page.
Yep.
You're still calling it urban center zone T5. Village core T5.
Thank you, good catch. We got it right. We'll redo those subtitles from the
In this
transect.
particular case, it's different than the
Yes.
T5 in the downtown district is going to be different than the T5 out here.
Actually, no, they're actually quite similar in terms of a
Just
lot of
the
the density
terminology.
stuff.
You decided to call it a village core. out here.
That's right in this, and I'll tell you, Ken, this transect is a standardized one that's out there, right, with sort of standards, but that's a good catch. I'm glad you caught that. And we can manipulate, and I think you're right, we'll make that consistent. That's a really good catch, actually, very good. I'll just make one quick observation about, this code. My office, the Devon's Enterprise Commission, Peter Lowett, and Mass Development, Devon's. We worked through the summer, we formulated, composed, prepared, and submitted on August the 9th, a $3 million MassWorks grant for this corridor. We will know, highly competitive, but we did one hell of it, I must say, it was really good, strong grant. If we are successful, that grant will deliver the construction of new sidewalks for the entire run of this corridor, brand new vertical granite curbing, brick, beautiful, concrete sidewalks. It will result in new water lines. The water lines are terrible out here, so all new water lines, new roadway surface, sidewalk, on-street parking, key, as we learned from Park Street. Again, roadway service, utilities. Yeah, actually, in this case, we actually could in this case, much easier than Park Street for a whole variety of reasons. Bike lanes, truly dedicated. This is all in the grant proposal. A new bus station for the Devon Shuttle, which connects this village then with our commuter rail station.
Nice.
Our new bike share program with a bike share station here. This is what this grant's about. So the whole point is the code. The grant we're doing, infrastructure supports the code. The code supports the infrastructure grant and delivers the place.
That shuttle's...
And then it gives me something to go out and sell, to say, I want issues, and now we have a product to attract the type of investment.
And that shuttle's particularly important because it ties into our transportation hub, which is critical.
Thank you,
Okay.
and that's what they want to see with this grant. So I just posed that, guys, that all this is happening together, and we even submitted with the Mass Work DOT that the form-based code's a critical part of that grant. Well, he said to me, Mr. Menahem, we won't be at town meeting until October 12th. We'll actually have made how do you, and I said, well, we were very successful in the spring, and I said, I believe there's a strong support in the community, and we feel confident, but I have a feeling this time they're going to actually tell me, let that guy do that presentation this time. Let's make him work a little for it this time. Which I'm up for.
Ken, don't get up for a cup of water this time.
All right, guys, just so you see what we're dealing with and all that stuff. Okay. Again, real disinvestment. The place really is ready to be recharged.
Yeah, we get it.
Okay. All right, so that's all that.
Okay, great.
Now, let me just do, you're not going home.
I know. It's the latest I think I've ever seen.
How do I get that back?
The whole family to sleep on that.
But you want to get back to your presentation?
Just to the main ones I had there.
I know I could, I just don't.
I'll just do this first.
Yeah, I think he can just, I have to do that.
Because I'm just going to do quickly, guys, just a few maybe of the panels,
Yep.
and then that's it.
I don't have to.
And that's why we'll be doing the big public forum with folks on the 19th, where we'll really go through in very deep detail. Okay, good. Okay, so just
West Main, up right.
There we go. So the code, is in the same format, and even the format, I know people say, what's with the double column, nothing else, it reads like a magazine.
Yes.
People will be more prone to say, I'm actually going to read this and look at it, it's kind of like I'm reading. So again, we get right to the intent and purpose, and I'm not going to read this through, but it's everything we've been talking about, place. Again, so folks can come in, see the transect, how that all works with the code. There's a regulating plan describing all that.
Right,
Same
right.
form, I actually, and that's the cool thing, guys, once you do one from, you get this sort of template down, this thing actually rolls really fast. It actually came in, he's like, I'm gonna go and start doing consulting again. This is fun, but I don't do that. Getting into the frontage types, I won't get too deep into that, but again, we know what we do with this is the new building's built, that's just a certain menu of frontage types that relate to the street, and those frontage types have the district purpose, just to facilitate construction of new high density. And I said that, and I might move that word. It's really not high density. It's just a little bit more escalated density. That's multifamily on this business, generate maximum amount of municipal real estate revenue. Again, we gotta put that land to work. We only have nine square miles of land in our entire town. Every parcel is precious to us to maximize for the
Absolutely.
taxpayers of this town so they can afford to live here in the future.
Do you have a minimum story height for the trend site?
We show
T5?
you.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
that's what I'll just jump to. No,
Oh, I'm
that's
sorry.
because all the rest is the same. This is by
Same
all
as
the
before,
same as the
same
other
as
one.
the other.
So you get right in that group, you say, I know this, we're familiar with it, we get it. Frontage types again, what
Yep.
is okay for the T5 and T6, and there's good mixture there. And again, we show those frontage types. This was all in the last code. Okay.
Oh, okay.
T5, same thing, you get into the descriptives of what it is, we're just saying this is the more intense part, that's the sort of the core. We'll have a lot of that cool stuff. I won't go into key features, but make sure your primary entry door actually addresses the street,
Faces
of
the
course.
street, yep.
A little just stuff about facade walls, and by the way, on this code, the whole thing, and by the way, it's very much charged by Ken's comment when I did the first presentation. It was still way too intense. I've gone through this whole thing and basically lowered the intensity of everything. Meaning, and even like, if you remember in the downtown Park Street code, we actually had a street wall for the part of the building that doesn't occupy the rest of the lot to make sure that the buildings, we said, well, you need to have a little street wall for the portion where your building is in front. Here, no, you don't want street walls out here. That's downtown.
Yeah.
So all these little things, we calibrate, say, look,
Oh, I
this
see,
is
yeah, I
not
see where you're going.
downtown, lessen it, and we'll get right to it. And again, that's all pretty much the same stuff, just lanes isn't where you park cars. We're doing the same thing with the 3 lot layers. We just want those cars back in the second and third layer behind the building.
Right,
So we did the
right,
other code.
right.
But this is where we get to the meat of it, fine.
Yeah.
All right, so T5, right off the bat, we changed this, we're saying now a 5-foot minimum, this is your front setback, a 5-foot minimum or a 20-foot maximum. Right now, what's out there in the general business, it's, you have a minimum 30-foot setback. This is why all the buildings are pushed
That
back.
looks horrible.
It's horrible, there are either cars parked in, or they just leave the front empty because they don't know what to do with it, and it just ends up looking terrible. This is what's causing this. But like in the downtown, we said it's 0 to 10. Here we're saying 5 to 20, so the whole thing's pushed back.
I have to kind of modify your statement because most of that work out there was done before there was even any zoning in town.
Thank you.
So
Quite right.
don't mix up the fact that whatever's out there was done under zoning because it wasn't.
It's too much paper.
And the ones that were done under zoning,
Yeah.
it's the newest probably. the
Yeah,
building,
like
which
if
is
you look at like
veterinarian's
the
place.
veterinarian
Right,
place,
that's
Karen's
that's
Kitchen,
the
right,
one
Karen's.
place that was done under. And that front lawn is a detention
Yes.
system, best management practices, and that's the
Yes.
problem when we
Yes.
squeeze all these things. They have to
Right,
address
out
those
there.
locations, so
Yes.
it's gonna have to be in the rear, I guess, if they,
In this case,
they're gonna
right.
come up with this stormwater situation
Right,
eventually.
but because the land slopes back from the road,
Maybe it ends up
it
being the
makes
best.
sense to put them back there anyhow.
Maybe they stuck it in the front because they had to have 30 feet anyway.
Right, it was there anyway,
Put
and
the
there's no,
comment
so why
back.
not,
Right.
so.
I mean, I just wouldn't group all
Yeah.
the things together because
Yes.
most of those things are pre-zoning at all. So
And you're
I'm
right,
laying
half of
zoning-
it is pre, right, it's
That's,
definitely
yeah, this is a
pre-1970.
yeah, please don't blame, right. okay, I see
It's
what
all
you're
from
saying.
really right 50s and 60s.
Good point.
And that's right.
So you're looking at 2-story, min, 4-story,
Wait a minute,
no, you
don't
do,
do it.
sorry.
All right, just those front setbacks, okay, so 5 and 20, all right, so now there's
Yep.
more, but still we're saying with a 20-foot setback, that's because you can put a nice cafe in the front, you'll have the new sidewalk and on-street parking. Now you
That'd
have
be
on-street
nice.
parking on the street, guys, you maximize your land for the building and use it not for cars parking on it. Side setback, we're saying 10 feet minimum. In downtown, you're at 0 wall to wall if you want it, so we're saying again, you can minimum, or you can even spread it out more out here, fine. Rear setback, 15-foot minimum, fine. Then we get, lot occupation width. Again, the thing with conventional, all they care about is what's the minimum. Here we're saying, there's a maximum. We don't want these monstrous monolithic buildings. Because you want lots of ownership on the street.
That's exactly
Different thing,
right.
and that's what
Do you want
creates
20
economic.
feet between a building?
Well, I'm sorry, say?
Side setback 10 feet, meaning
Correct.
20 feet
Yes,
minimum between every
minimum
building.
between them out here. That's what makes it not like downtown.
You want them
A
spaced
little
apart.
less intense, that's right, it should be a little less intense out there. Lot widths, we're saying minimum 24 feet, maximum of 240. That's a good flexible range for what you want to do out there. We're giving them that type of flexibility. Lot coverage, saying a maximum of 90% in a T5.
But if you did a lot with
Wait a minute,
24
This is
feet,
different than what I've got. This is 160 feet.
Whoa! Wait a minute, are you in, you're in T5-1.
Go back a
That's
page.
less
is that it?
intense than T5.
but what, a lot with 24 feet, you only have 4 feet of building.
I'm sorry, say
Do
again?
I understand it right, Alan?
Yes.
That it's a 24-foot
Oh,
lot
okay, got it. All right, now I see it.
would have a 4-foot building on it.
All right, so here we go.
You can't.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at,
Okay.
please say again, I'm sorry.
When I'm still on the side setback,
Yeah.
combined with the lot width of 24 feet,
Yes.
I can only put a 4-foot building on that.
No, it's a minute, it doesn't want a lot, it's narrower than 24 feet, but I don't know if you'll ever find a lot that narrow or not.
I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
well, you don't want a lot narrower than
It's
24 feet.
impossible, right?
It's possible.
It's possible.
Okay. I
Sure.
could put a little photomax, the little photomax
That's
sit
right.
down there and thing.
That's right.
That's right.
Okay.
That's a valid
Skinny building,
point. That's a
if you
valid
actually
point.
go on Google, right?
He's got a.
Go on Google and Google narrow or skinny buildings, you'll see the coolest buildings, the most desired buildings.
Extreme homes.
No.
But your expectation,
You gotta change that. You gotta change
You're
that.
not gonna see anything like that, but this shows when the say, what is you doing? We can't do it. It's like, no, actually the formula we're giving you, actually have more flexibility with
No,
this
you
type
gotta
of code.
change that to make something a reasonable number. That's way up. He's right.
Yeah?
If you have
Too
two-
skinny
if you
for the lot?
If you have two side setbacks
Yeah.
of 10 feet, and you take them from 24, you have a
Yes.
4-foot building. Now, nobody's gonna build a 4-foot building.
Well, no, we're not gonna,
Yeah, it's right there.
It's one of those little
It's a cheap
drive-in
edit, right.
solutions that
He's
you
got
can
it
go in
right.
and have your
The side
coffee and donuts.
setback, each side is 10 feet.
a setback from the next building next to you.
No, side setback is a lot, it's a lot setback, not a
And the lot-
building
Yeah.
The
setback.
lot line,
A lot
A
line.
lot line setback.
Oh, okay.
A setback
The
is a
building is
distance.
set back from their lot line
Right.
Yes.
inside.
Right, so if it's set back 10 feet from one side because it's required, and 10 feet from the other side because it's required, you only have a 4-foot building. There's no economics to that.
Wow, yeah.
it's like a little, you get an espresso
Yeah.
machine and a coffee shop and they drive in one
So
time.
it should be some,
Starbucks now.
the lot width now, the minimum is 100 right now.
It's 8 feet.
Why the hell did I?
The minimum now is 100 in that district, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah.
The handicap accessible door is going to be the whole.
I don't think we should
building.
go below the 100.
You
It's a
need coffee
current.
now. You just come up to the window and get your coffee.
Yeah.
So don't go to health regulations.
Yeah, we got a problem. We're gonna have to-
Building that's-
We're gonna have to go through this line, right, in detail.
We gotta, there's some issues here.
All right, we'll recalibrate that.
Calibrate.
We'll quote you on both of
That's-
those.
I hope us.
We got some issues
But that's why we do this,
here.
that's the whole point of this, is that we
Sum
did
that
it
up.
right.
Okay.
And you said your front is built out
Yeah.
75% along the front setback, so, you know, Actually, we can only build it at 3 feet.
That's right, so
Because 75% of 4 feet is 3 feet.
And the building.
Well, no,
width-
that's a minimum, that's a minimum.
building-
We want to see at
the
least
building
75, so you could have your 4-foot
It's a
building after all.
You can't have a 4-foot building because your building width is 16 feet.
All right, guys, we'll recount.
We'll fix that.
That's just some messing around numbers.
My
Very
recommendation
good.
here is that we don't fool around with the lot minimum width that you
Yeah.
maintain it, it's in the current district, which is 100 feet.
For a minimum?
That's what it is now.
Yeah.
Okay, then just,
Let's just take,
on C,
You go for 240.
I'll throw it a couple of different things. That's right, you guys. Very good, guys. Thank you.
And lot coverage is another problem. That's another lot occupation. So lot coverage, is that the building coverage on the lot?
90% max.
That's correct.
Maximum.
It'd be possible. Can't we have that? That's a big conflict with every other thing we have about
Yeah.
minimum open space and all that other stuff.
It's a maximum.
You're gonna run into with the aquifer
All right, good.
in that area. Can't have 90%.
All right.
Just
We'll
spelling error.
recalibrate that stuff. It's very easily done. That's,
I think you're gonna have to come back with an explanation to us when we continue the meeting.
Absolutely.
On those issues.
You have a spelling error there on item C. It should be principal
okay.
with an R.
See? Okay, all right. Building height out here in T5 though, just so we do this. T5, we are saying a maximum of 4 stories out here
with a minimum?
with a minimum of 2. So we want to see at least 2 stories on that T5 main core. Again, we will disregard the building width stuff. We've got to recalculate all that.
Right.
We'll recalculate that. The building facade, the window proportionality again, which is the good standard, 60 minimum, 90, and that's again your windows on your ground level. You want to see good window transparency, which creates the street vitality and life. You don't want to have these dead walls. And again, these are the same percentages we've used and they work very well. We will correct that lot width and the coverage and recalculate those.
Okay.
Last page again is the same as the last code, just showing the parking location. And again, we're just doing it in the layers. We just want to see it again in the second or third layer, so the cars aren't right up on the front plane of the building. And the last part is frontages and again, just laid out very straight. The T51, again, is a little less intense with everything. I'll just shoot through that. Let's just get to the table. We still, though, are at a frontage, 5-foot minimum, 20-foot max, so that the frontages, setbacks are the same, side, rear setbacks, all the same. We did drop down the maximum lot width here, because again, if you're gonna see larger buildings in terms of their scale, you want in that T5. The ones at T5 one should be a little bit less in scale. So we dropped down the maximum lot width to 160. On T5, it was 240. Again, we'll recalculate the minimums, the lot coverage. Frontage build out here on T5, we're saying 75%. We want that building occupying 75% of the frontage to create that street wall. Here in T51, we're saying 60%, again, a little less intense. And it's a development pattern.
Okay.
Building height here, we're saying again, it's actually the same as what it is now with GR. Maximum of 3, minimum of 1. So we just really leave that, where it is. Okay? And again, we'll recalculate the building width, the building window proportionality, same, 60-90 on the ground level, 40-60 above. And
You gotta add the R to principal again.
yes, so make sure that that typo is correct,
I
yeah?
guess, Alan, I'm thinking in the 10.5, in that core,
Yes.
still not making sense to me to have 20-foot, requiring 20-foot spaces. Even the picture you're using here, it's not a 20-foot space between those buildings. I think the density, you might want to...
What do you feel we should, would be maybe more, the way it...
Yeah, I would
if
think
it's- Are you saying there should be more separation?
No, you should get closer.
Oh, really? You think, really?
You're gonna have a problem, because you gotta get a driveway behind these things, the roads and parking or
Oh,
something.
right.
Yeah, the
Between
fire
buildings.
department's
I don't
gonna
mean on
wanna
both
get their
sides.
fire truck back there. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I own the lot next to you, I wanna build 10 feet to my lot line, you wanna be 10 feet to your lot line. Who's gonna put a
But
driveway
in
behind
my
it?
lot-
We're gonna build a building on a road, but we don't have a way to get to the parking lot behind the road or under it.
You require, what, 10 feet to get to the parking lot?
Well, I don't know, it's
Yeah,
close.
the,
We have screening and all other requirements. These things are really tight, if this ever goes this way.
Yeah. I think that,
Downtown is different. Downtown, you're not, you know, everything is buttoned right up.
Just the examples, you know, pictures that you got in here for examples,
Yes.
that's not what they're doing. They got buildings that are 4 or 5 feet apart.
Right.
Yeah, but you got,
But he's saying you gotta drop these in, so.
Oh, we need different images.
Oh, yeah, and
I
thank
like
you, by the way, yeah, these images are just placeholder images, actually, right, which I actually write.
Well, that might change our visual of what we're.
Yeah.
No, but
Although the T5, I'm showing that image, you're
I think
probably
you-
looking at about 20 feet. But,
okay.
yes, quite right. I just want to look at one thing here. Yes, driveways. So this is under, okay, I'm on page 12 and then 13 here. See external elements, T5. If you go to, up on page 13, second on driveways. Driveways are encouraged to be on the secondary street frontage. Well, we don't have second here. Driveways will be paved a minimum of 10 feet wide
Right.
and a maximum of 18 feet wide.
Well, it would be one way if it was 10 feet wide.
Right.
That's right.
But these
sort
are
of a wraparound.
these lots. I mean, some of those lots are really narrow. You're not gonna have a big store because you're right up against that rock wall.
Yes, in the back.
This is, might be too close to the downtown.
And you got wetlands.
Well, that's
and
it. I don't want to, right, I really
Requirements.
thought we don't want to really push this.
Gotta open this up.
So you feel, so you're gonna say it should
The
be
core.
more urban, you feel it should be less urbanized.
I'll come to your 19th meeting.
But this is it, this is part of
Oh,
the
yeah.
urban work.
Okay,
Huh?
so I think the biggest issue I have so far is the.
Yeah, we've got to recalculate, that's right. Yeah,
Well,
yeah. And that's
especially
easily
lot
done.
coverage, I don't understand what lot coverage means.
Well, the building,
It's,
the building footprint, we're saying it's a maximum, it can cover 90% of the lot.
can't do it, it's impossible.
Really?
You can't get to it from the building. Downtown, you can do it, but you can't do it out there on the lot, because 90%, if the building's 90%, if the lot is 90% covered, you're not gonna have any place to park. You can't put all the parking on the street, it's impossible. There's only a few parking spots at 100
For
feet.
ACEC, you can't do it with a.
It's just
new
not enough
garages.
coverage. Plus, we require more open space, and we require this on-site drainage, and best management, all the stuff that's with landscaping, site screening, you know, all that stuff. You can't do it with 10% of the lot. Not a plan.
It'll be close, it'll be very urban. So, no,
I think you gotta look at that. What's it downtown's lot coverage, what's the one in the other district then? I don't know if we got the other change yet.
yeah, but you just look at on general business. It's a lot.
No, I mean in the form-based code downtown.
It's not gonna happen.
Oh,
on
you're
the
at,
north side.
You can go 100% in downtown, which some folks do. It's either we have that or at 90. Oh, yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, you said either, I think it might match downtown at 90. So,
Okay, you know, you're right, you're right. And even this, right, see, yeah.
are we gonna continue this to the next meeting?
yeah, we're
I'm just
gonna
curious because
continue.
Yeah.
There's no question about that.
Okay, good.
we're reaching the 4-hour point. I gotta be honest, I'm fading fast.
Okay, so we've got the presentation, we've received some comments, but we have further comments.
Yeah.
Maybe we can find the time to look at the tables, if that's ends up being the area that we're most concerned with. And we'll accept the motion to continue this hearing till the next planning board regularly scheduled meeting.
I make a motion to continue the public hearing regarding the Mitchellville form-based code until the, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt, but did we already continue the other ones?
Yes, we did.
Oh, we did? Okay.
We did do,
Right,
we did do the motion.
Right,
Make a
sorry.
motion to continue the public hearing for the discussion of the Mitchellville West Main Street form-based code to our next meeting, September 24th.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded that we continue the discussion of the Mitchellville West Main Street Transit-Oriented Village Form-Based Code to the next regularly scheduled planning board meeting.
And by tomorrow,
Is there any further discussion?
That is the discussion.
by tomorrow afternoon, I will email to Mark the calculate the proper calibrations on that, and they'll get that all out to you by tomorrow afternoon.
Great.
And we'll be
Oh, we need a
straight
vote.
right.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Been moved and seconded, and we've had some further discussion, so we'll accept the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Great, thank you guys.
Thanks, Alan.
Yeah.
All right, let's move forward. Looks to me that it's apparent that we're going to conclude here. We're not going to talk about the subdivision regulations because we have too many other things to talk about. And we've had too many
Right.
things to talk about tonight.
And actually, Mr. Chairman, in regard to the subdivision regs, pretty soon, I'd say within a month, we're gonna have these big subdivisions, will be in the past. We'll have more time in our meetings to do this sort of real planning, the regulations.
Vote me on
and-
that?
Yeah, that's true.
Haven't seen it
We'll
yet.
have a temporary reprieve.
Okay.
I can't say for too
I'll actually
long.
like to make one comment to
Yes.
satisfy everybody that's really interested in this. What's actually happened is that some of the features of the new subdivision regulations have been cooperatively included in the subdivisions that we have discussed, even though they're not in our
Right, that's-
current regulations.
True enough.
So
Right,
I've
that's
actually
true.
seen streetlights, which we have in the new regulations included.
Change
We've
from the
seen the
word
spacing of the sidewalk and the street and the size of the planting strips. So a number of things, even though we haven't got them in print in our old regulations, have already fallen on the new proposals.
Awesome.
So we
Yep,
can feel
that's
comfortable
true.
that they're moving, everyone's moving in the
I
right direction.
agree.
Thank you.
Right, yep.
So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Adjourned.
You don't have to say.
Good job,
All right.
everyone.